Good evening and welcome to Chessboxing.
Thanks very much, Chris. So, for those of you who haven't seen us before, my name's Matt Lunn, and you are?
Chris the General Levy.
Yes, Matt, no nickname Lunn, because of course I am not a chess boxer. I'm just a chess player, and barely that, if I'm honest.
You're being modest.
Thank you. Yes. So I think we can be heard in the room.
Chris the General Levy, and we're live at the Boston Dome.
We're live
at the Boston Dome. Matt.
In Tuffnel Park, Boston Dome, which has actually been our home for a while now, and I believe has a historic association with Anthony Joshua.
I think he has fought here in his amateur career.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are some chess boxers who will be going on to have equally starred careers after this evening, because we have a very exciting lineup, I believe, Matt.
We do indeed. So we're starting with Gearoid Veale versus Felix Intense Lee. Felix Lee, of course, is a kabaddi player and plays for England, I believe. He's genuinely impressive, and I'm not going to lie, an absolute specimen of a man.
I have very fond memories of watching kabaddi back in the day, and it requires incredible agility. I am looking forward to seeing the transferable skills from kabaddi to the ring. Gearoid Veale, I believe, styles himself Sex Appeal Veale, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he has to offer in that department.
It's going to be an unbelievably sexy fight, let's be honest. And we have had some properly sexy bouts over the years. In our 3 or so years of doing it, it's just been absolute carnage on the sexiness front.
Sexy chess. I'm looking forward to seeing some very sexy chess.
And then we have Dan the Taxman Mayfield versus Arturas.
Arturas Lukosiunas, I believe, all the way from Lithuania.
Yes. He looks tough. He looks like a very, very tough man. Very pleasant. Had a very brief chat with him. He seemed lovely, but he is not a man you'd want to get on the wrong side of.
A man of few words, a focus man, and interestingly, twice the age of his opponent. So. Experience versus youth there. Will Dan tax his opponent is the question.
Oh, that's absolutely delightful. You guys at home are in for an absolute treat. That level of punditry, not a word, but we'll carry on. Chris and I are wearing Christmas garb for literally the whole event. Why would we get changed, you might ask? And apropos of nothing, my jumper lights up as well, which if you see me leaning back, my jumper, of course, which is a bear wearing a jumper on top of my existing jumper, and his jumper lights up, which I think is delightful.
It is, and I feel somehow underserved in that department, having obtained my Will Ferrell elf jumper from Primark only this afternoon. I had, in fact, tried to order a chess-themed Christmas jumper off of Amazon, but it was so much in demand, it was delayed. It said, all I want for Christmas is more time to play chess. So I think that speaks to the popularity of the game at the moment in this post-Queen's Gambit era.
It's a really, really good point, Chris. Actually, the kind of spectrum of world chess has fundamentally changed since the pandemic started. One, because the Queen's Gambit came out, and if you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to check it out. It is just absolutely extraordinary. Anya Taylor-Joy giving a career best performance. A lot of my friends who aren't chess players ask me about the chess as well. It is astonishingly accurate, and in particular, I think the second episode where she goes and plays in that Kentucky Junior tournament reminds me of so many tournaments I played as a youth, and it actually genuinely gave me goosebumps. It was really, really moving to watch, as well as being a great show.
It really did take me back, and it reminds me, Matt, of your storied chess career. You're a very strong junior, and you've continued to this day. I'm delighted to be sat next to you and to be picking up some chess tips. As a former chess boxer, I tend to be a little bit more even on both of them, but you really are a chess expert. I'm looking forward to hearing your take on some of the high quality chess that we're going to see this evening. No doubt, some of it from David the Northern Powerhouse Jarmany, a very strong chess player. probably the strongest chess player I've seen in the chess boxing firmament. He'll be taking on Yordanov, a late replacement for Lars Bjorknes, who's unfortunately had to withdraw due to some late health issues. But David the Northern Powerhouse, Germany, very strong in the boxing and the chess. I'm really looking forward to seeing him again this evening.
Yes, you might hear us talk a little bit about ELO rating during this session. It's used to essentially indicate the quality of a chess player. So someone who's new to the game might be rated around 1,000. Magnus Carlsen, the best player in the world, is rated a little over 2,850. David Jarmany is 2,200 plus. So he's a kind of like candidate master strength player. He's a very, very decent chess player. He doesn't play a kind of a ton of like sort of mainstream openings, over reliance on opening theory, but he's instinctively just a very, very strong player, which when you're playing short time controls like this is hugely advantageous because it's quite easy to be taken off guard early on. And he's going to be a big leader in the chess, although I understand that Yordan, he knows how the knights move, which is a good start.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the short time control. Maybe we should talk a little bit about chess boxing. What is it? How does it work? Where did it come from? So what we can expect this evening, it's alternating rounds of chess and boxing. It starts with the chess in the boxing ring, fascinatingly, and each player has a short amount of time on their clock, 20 minutes overall, or sometimes less, and they can allocate that time as they wish over the course of their chess rounds. So, for example, you could take your time early on, try and get a good position at the opening. But if you run your clock down, then you're going to have less time as the game starts to get a little more complicated into the middle game. What happens is after 4 or 5 minutes of chess, then there is a pause. The board is very delicately taken out of the... You'll see the sort of...
super delicately.
There's
a lot of machinery and technology in that board that you wouldn't want to mess about with.
Exactly. So that is taken out, preserving the position. Then the fighters who are in their boxing garb retreat to their corners, get their gloves on, and then it's into the boxing. Just a regular round of boxing, as if the chess had never happened. Obviously it had. 2-minute rounds of boxing, and then it's gloves off, a minute to slow your heart rate down. Board gets very delicately brought back in, and then you continue with the chess. And the fascinating thing there is the first round of chess is obviously the pure chess before you've had the boxing, before your heart rate is up at 170 beats per minute, before the aggression is the adrenaline is coursing through your veins. And as a strong player, Matt, I'm sure you can talk to the importance of objectivity. Sometimes the most aggressive move is not the best one. So that transition from the boxing rounds to the chess rounds, that's really one to look out for, because there you've got that aggressive instinct that you've got from that 2-minute round of boxing. So how do you calm yourself down? How do you look objectively when the board comes back to avoid making that terrible mistake, the Jaffa, as we call it, when you come back to the chess round?
The Jaffa, we use it in a context completely different from cricket, of course, where a Jaffa is a type of ball that you just, it's an unplayable ball. In this, we use rather amusingly Cockney rhyming slang, Jaffa cake mistake. It's a coinage of Gavin Patterson. Gavin, the grievous bodily farmer, Patterson. Patterson, sorry, Gavin, he will have heard that. He'll hate me right now. And the issue you have, of course, is that if you get punched in the face a lot, it doesn't necessarily make you a better chess player. Would you agree?
It is not conducive to one's cognitive abilities. I can testify, having perhaps been more punched than punchy during my chess boxing career. Hence, perhaps a slightly lower grade of my quality than you yourself, who have managed to preserve both that beautiful face and your full cognitive abilities. But anyhow, we go from the alternating rounds of chess and boxing until someone wins one way or the other. So the fascinating thing is at the start of a match, you're completely equal on both dimensions. Yet what you will often get is one person may pull ahead on the chess, necessitating his opponent needing to be a little bit more aggressive on the boxing, knowing that the chess is going against them, or vice versa. If you know that you're probably not going to be able to survive more than a couple of rounds on the boxing, then that incentivizes you to play both more quickly and more aggressively in the chess. to try and win via that. So really, whichever comes first, checkmate or knockout, decides the game. So it can be really quite brutal. You know the feeling of when you've played a wonderful game of chess, but to throw it away at the end with a horrible blunder or jabber.
Oh my goodness, Chris! It's absolutely heartbreaking. And unlike a sport such as tennis or football, effectively the scoring system is such that it resets. Like you lose a point, your opponent scored, the opposition scores a goal, and then you're back on a level playing field, but a point down. Whereas in chess, if you make a mistake, you are stuck with the repercussions of your mistake for the rest of the game, and that can be completely devastating. We saw a few times in the recent World Chess Championship, for instance, when Ian Nepomniachtchi got his bishop trapped on b7. There was no way of resetting that, for instance. That just meant the game was lost, and that's it. Basta, as they say in Italian. So yes, it can be very, very cruel, this game, but we love it.
Even more cruel if you are on top on the chess and about to execute the coup de grace, but get somehow stopped on the boxing before you can even do it. So it's not even a chess mistake of yours that has ended it, but just the fact that you don't get to see it through.
Yes.
So that's what we love about this sport. Now, you mentioned the World Chess Championships, Matt. I really enjoyed watching some of the live commentary, and you were talking about the Queen's Gambit as well, and how it's led to popularity of chess. So I feel like chess has become a little bit more mainstream, a little bit trendier over the last few years. A lot of like high viewership for the World Championship, and then a lot of people playing online as well. Have you been playing much online chess over the last year or so?
Yes, I mean, I've played a ton of online chess, actually. As my wife will attest, I do try to sort of sneak in a few bullet games in between, errands, doing stuff around the house. Even when I'm meant to be doing stuff, I play a 2-minute bully game on Lee Chess. And I'm not going to...
is one that takes 2 minutes, or sometimes even 1 minute each, so...
Well, yeah, so one minute per side. I really like the ultra speedy stuff, but it's probably least conducive for chess improvement, because you're being audited on your ability to handle the clock as much as you are on your chess skill. But I'm not going to lie, I've turned into a profoundly antisocial person over the last couple of years, the amount of bullet chess I'm playing, and if my wife's listening, I'm really sorry. But we're not talking about me, are we? We're talking about the boom of chess over the last couple of years, and the fact that so much is available online has been a real boost. When the pandemic hit, obviously club level over the board chess couldn't take place anymore, so a lot of clubs, tournaments took themselves online instead, and it's become really normalized, the ability to sort of play high quality games online, which is great. There's some really high level tournaments, as in some of the best players in the world played in these really lucrative, exciting online tournaments. But as well as that, it gives you the ability to play people from across the world as well. And I mean, chess is that great leveler as well. There are no barriers of gender, race, or language. And I think the ability to have all of this take place online so seamlessly, and particularly when we're in the midst of a global health crisis, has been absolutely fantastic.
I believe we are over to our
now. We're over to Jem.
I've missed you all. How are you, everyone? Yes, we are back. We are here with Chessboxing Nation, bringing you our annual season's beatings. I've missed you all. My name's Jem. I'm your MC for the evening. Now, who here has been to a chessboxing event before? Oh, that was a bit lame. I can see quite a lot of you. Have you been to a chessboxing event before? Yes, you have. Who here is a chessboxing newbie? Why do the newbies always scream louder? So, here is how it works. Chessboxing takes place like this. You get a round of speed chess, followed by a round of boxing. Then some speed chess, then some boxing, then some speed chess, then some boxing. And it is settled with a checkmate or a knockout. We're hoping to see a few of those, aren't we? Oh, yes. And I'm not here alone this evening. I've got a wonderful team to introduce to you. So, first up, we have our chess arbiter. So, former England chess captain and women's FIDE master, your arbiter for this evening, Kamwal Bhatia. Give her a huge round of applause. She's awesome and her outfit is great. And of course, it's not just chess that needs to be assessed tonight. So we've also got someone refereeing the boxing. Joining us all the way from Cuba originally, ex-junior amateur world boxing champion, referee Reynaldo Dominguez! Give us a pose, Ronaldo. Yeah! And of course, our commentators, we have the wonderful chess boxer Chris the General Levy and Matt Lunn, who will be commentating the chess for all of you. So we can all pretend to be chess nerds tonight. And of course, there's our ring girl. Oh no, wait a minute. We don't have a ring girl. Ooh. We might have something else instead. Let's build up a little drum roll, the anticipation for what we've got instead. Let's have some drumming on your knees. Come on. Introducing our Berserker!
From the dawn of time they came, before ring girls existed, and before sexism was bad. A warrior class was immortalized as a chess piece. These Nordic warriors were crack troops destined for Valhalla, charging into battle naked, except for the skins of slain beasts. The hallucinogenic plants they ate drove them to feverish violence on the battlefield, striking fear into the hearts of their enemies. No one knew the Berserkers were still with us, until now.
By doing something called the Icelandic thunderclap. Ever heard of that? No, me either. But we're all going to learn it together, aren't we? Aren't we, Berserker? Yes! Now the Icelandic thunderclap goes a little something like this. I need you all to hold your arms in the air like this. He's going to stamp his feet twice, and then we're going to go. Okay, here we go. Let's try one out. Go on, Berserker. And again. And again. Very good. That's an Icelandic thunderclap. Give the Berserker a huge round of applause. Oh, sponsored by, no, not, but there's some manscaping going on there, basically, that I'm quite enjoying. Very nice. So, are you excited for our first bout of chess boxing? I don't believe you. I don't. Let's throw to our commentary team. So commentary team, what are your most exciting things that you're looking forward to? Chris and Matt, what are you looking forward to tonight most?
I am looking forward to some sexy chess from Gearoid, sex appeal Veale, who we have in our first fight. He really prides himself on his pheromones and his general attractiveness. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing that. More of the Berserker. I have never seen a man in a bearskin before. What about you, Matt?
Yeah, I also need to praise the Berserker to the hilt. Until now, I've had a giant Berserker-filled hole in my heart, and that hole is finally filled. So thank you so much. And Chris kind of stole my line, because for me, sexy chess is the order of the day, and for that reason, our first fight between Gearoid Veale and Felix intensely promises to be an absolute corker, and it's going to be a hell of a show, and I'm super excited about that, and indeed all of it, because who doesn't love a bit of chess and a bit of boxing?
Yeah, well, I definitely love it. And audience, are you ready for your first bout? So, let me introduce your fighters. First up in the ring, we have a fighter who's so attractive, he's been known to send women, men, and some larger mammals into zombie-like states of lust. And according to him, when faced with this level of sex appeal, sexual preference becomes meaningless. And he claims that his special move is flirting. So watch out, world, quite frankly. In the white corner, weighing 72 kilograms, standing at 180 centimeters, with an elo of 1,500, make some noise for Gearoid Sex Appeal Veale! Someone might want to come and fix the chess set. It's all going off here. Woo! I nearly got taken out by a pair of underpants. What's going on? So, joining him in the ring, we've got a fighter who plays kabaddi for England. Who's ever heard of kabaddi? Okay, do it with me. Kabaddi, 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 kabaddi. Yes! He is also a big lover of combat sport, and he loves computer games, particularly Street Fighter 2. So it's no surprise that his specialism is Hadouken! So, in the black corner, standing at 172 centimeters, weighing in at 70 kilograms, please make some noise for Felix Intensely! Let's give it up for both fighters. We have Gearoid I'm going to hand over to our wonderful chess commentators to kick us off. Enjoy the bout, everyone.
What a pair of entrances there, Matt. I've never seen so much underwear at one time, as I can see right now.
I'm not going to lie, Chris. This is going to be a hell of a fight. Just look at Felix's legs. Well, actually, they're kind of hidden now, so that would have worked earlier when I saw him in his shorts.
So round one chess. We've got a few minutes of speed chess coming up here. They're going to draw for colours first, I believe.
Yes, the draw for colours, of course. White always goes first. It's like serving in tennis. It's a little advantage. You get to guide the position into the type of arena you like. Do you want to go for a positional game? Do you want to go for a really, really open game? So being white can be quite useful. But as we saw from the World Championship, winning with black does happen. And actually being on the back foot to start with can be good because you can be a little bit reactive, you can soak up the pressure and then allow the momentum to swing your way. So I think this is going to be an absolute corker and I'm really, really excited.
So being white, a certain advantage, and it looks like Gearoid has the white pieces, so he'll be leading off. In the audience, if you keep an eye on the big screen up on the stage, you will be able to see the chess position there live on the board. You'll see some coordinates. Along the bottom, you'll see some letters A through to H, and then running top to bottom, you'll see some numbers 1 through to 8. So that designates the coordinate system. You'll probably hear us calling out a little bit, things like bishop from C1 to F4, but keep your eye on the screen, and you'll be able to see the chess action as it unfolds.
Yeah. So the fact they can't hear, of course, means we can say whatever we like. We'll give an unvarnished assessment of what's going on the chessboard, and you can cheer and heckle and just generally be as loud as you like because they can't hear a sodding thing.
Yep, so they've got the headphones on that is actually playing some heavy metal that you really cannot hear anything. The chess is about to start.
Are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? The chess is started and we are off! And it's a Queen's Gambit! We've got a Queen's Gambit! It's the Albin counter gambit on the board. So white has got an extra pawn, but black has this enormous pawn on d4, which clogs up the position. Bishop b4 check! It's all kicking off already. Bishop b4 check. Knight b to d2. Nice solid move by Gearoid. He's attacking the bishop. Will he spot? Will black spot that the bishop's attacked? Because actually, if the bishop drops back, he could lose a piece, but he's
stopped it. It's an exchange.
Oh, he's exchanged pieces. I like it a lot. So white now has what's called the bishop pair. This could be advantageous on an open board because white is the only one with a dark squared bishop, the one in front of the queen. So if things kick off big style on the dark squares, only white can take advantage of that. And you can see that black has maneuvered his knights round to attack that e5 pawn, and he's taken it! He's taken the pawn back, and we have level material. Parity has been restored, Chris Levy.
Two things to point out here as well. In the bottom left, actually, in the bottom left there, you can see 8 minutes on Gearoid's clock, and similarly 8:20 on Felix's clock. That's how much time they have to complete the entire game, and they can allocate that time as they like. They're both going at quite a lick at the moment early on. We still have 2 minutes left in round one. As the game gets a little bit more complex, as we progress, then we might expect to see them start to slow down, spend a little bit more time thinking over the moves, Matt.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. This is critical. We're kind of coming out of the opening and into what is called a middle game. Queen to c2, of course, defending the pawn. Oh, bishop to g4. Interesting developmental move. White can kick that bishop with h3, give his king some breathing space on h2 in the future. So that's the pawn directly in front of the rook nearest his king. So bishop g4, I guess an aggressive idea. He can drop it back to h5 and g6 if white kicks it, and just generally black will be looking to castle his king and find some way to get this move pawn to d3 in. And actually, pawn to d3 now would be a possibility, but he's not played it, he's dropped the bishop back to h5. But I really like black's idea, of playing his queen's pawn forward 1 square, but that doesn't actually work quite so well now because you've got queen 2 squares diagonally check. But I think black's position. Oh, he's taken a pawn! White's taken a pawn! We're no longer at parity, ladies and gentlemen. White is a pawn up, and that bishop is threatening to capture black's queenside rook. Will black spot that his rook is being attacked, Chris Levy?
So yeah, for those who are a little bit newer to chess, a rook is worth a little bit more than a bishop. So this is something.
But so he's played bishop to g6, thinking that obviously a rook is worth less than the queen. So he's thinking if the bishop takes the rook, I can take the queen. But white can play queen to a4 check, an intermezzo for any Italians in the room or at home. And then after the king moves, then he can capture the rook. So he's done it! He's done it! White has played queen a4 check, a heroic spot by Gearoid Veale. What a play by the Irishman. And he can now take that rook next move.
A slightly rueful grin from Felix there as well. He's getting into trouble on the white squares here, Matt.
You can see his face etched with sadness, but no, it's a professional move, knight back to d7. And what black needs to hope for now, he's going to lose a rook, which is worth 5 points, and that's the bell! That's the bell, ladies and gentlemen! White, I think, with the advantage, but a ton left to play for.
This could be going deep, I think, Matt. There's a good couple more rounds of chess left in this yet.
Yeah, lots and lots going on, ladies and gentlemen. So I don't think I can commentate on the chess anymore because the fighters can hear it. So let's just talk about the boxing.
It is all about the boxing, and really, so Felix with maybe a slightly worse position here in the chess that might be incentivized to go for it in the boxing. And although he is about to go down material, losing that rook, at the same time, Felix will be left with quite a powerful light squared bishop and his queen on quite a good square in a8.
Yes, I
so
think,
there's some dynamism there.
I think the problem that black has is that the bishop is not that well placed on g6 to contribute to an attack on the light squares. Because I agree, the queen on a8 does that really good job of raking down the long diagonal. I just don't think black's minor pieces are well coordinated enough to make it work. I mentioned about the knight dropping back to d7. I mean, the problem he has is that that knight was actually really well placed on e5 because he then had that d3 pawn break. So I like white here, but I mean, still a ton to play for, but I think white is definitely in the ascendancy.
Absolutely, there is some compensation. I have to interrupt our analysis there, Matt, because our Berserker is back in the ring, and he's about to signal the start of the boxing here. And this is really where we see, although someone may have the advantage on the board, do they also maintain that advantage in the ring?
Given that we know white, Gearoid, has an advantage in the chess, what would you be doing now as Felix the boxer?
You would want to be coming out aggressively, establishing a dominance, and maybe also towards the end of the round coming on very strong as well to wear out your opponent, because really one way of wresting the advantage back in the chess can be if you can tire out your opponent in the ring so they can't think straight. But now I think it's back to the thunderclap. Talk about not being able to think straight. I certainly cannot reference the chess back in my brain. Really is quite an atmosphere here at the Boston Dome.
Yeah, it's a lovely atmosphere in the Dome. I hope it's good where you are at home. And we have a cracking round of boxing coming up. Felix Lee needing to make inroads here. This, of course, is his first fight, but he is a high-quality sportsman. He's an international kabaddi player. And, not to put too fine a point of it, that's a chiseled torso, Chris Levy.
He is looking a lean, mean machine, indeed. But Gearoid is an experienced campaigner. I think this might be his third fight now.
I think this is his fifth fight.
I believe it's his third fight with a 100% record, however.
Goodness me. A low-quality stat there, my end. And that's the bell.
And Gearoid comes out slightly crab-like, both fighters looking to establish the jab. Actually, maybe Gearoid a little bit more with... We've already been...
Oh, the corner man being admonished there. We like to see that.
Felix looking a little bit more for the backhand, the right hand, looking to land the power shots.
Vicious start by Felix. And I think given where we are with the chess, Chris, I'm sorry for talking over you, that's what we need to be, isn't it? Nice,
exactly.
nice.
I think with one person starting to be ahead right on the chess, Gearoid there hitting a little bit on the break and getting admonished there by referee. Now that was a little bit sneaky. They were tied up. They had the break instruction. You're not meant to hit on the break. Ronaldo was really ticking him off for that there. And a little bit repairs the glove being carried up. They tap gloves. That's good to see. A friendly move there. An acknowledgement from Gearoid that he maybe shouldn't have snuck in that. Oh, a big one!
Goodness me, a vicious flurry. Gearoid is not looking happy. He is not comfortable at all.
Takes the knee in an 8 count, and there's still 2 minutes left. It's a 3-minute round here, so that's a long time to survive. Gearoid will be looking to eat into time here. Felix will be looking to press home the advantage.
And Felix is not letting up, is he? This is a vicious and sustained show of aggression by Felix Lee. But that sounded like a heavy punch, Chris.
Vicious, sustained, and dare I say it, intense, living up to his ring name. Certainly,
absolutely delightful.
You can see those kabaddi skills coming into play. It's a game of agility, and he's certainly a little bit lighter on his feet. Gearoid, though, has managed to run the clock down. 1 more minute to survive. He'll just be looking to get back to the ring to press home his advantage there.
Yes, and as mentioned before, the position still has enough bite in it in the chess that actually taking a load of punches here could be a big disadvantage for Gearoid, causing, one of those jaffers we spoke about earlier on the show.
A stiff jab landing from Felix there. He's looking to set up the big straight right, the one that had Gearoid down on his feet. Gearoid doing well to be on his bike, as we say. A little bit of wrestling there. You do like to see that. And Gearoid, some more adjustments being made to the glove. If you were to be cynical, you could say that would be eating up a few more precious moments on the clock. We're down to 20 seconds now left in this round.
And I think there's no doubt that this has been Felix's round. But I mean, what can you kind of tell about Felix as a boxer from the way he's approached this?
Aggression, a good straight right, and that is the end of the round. Gearoid survives. So really, we have the classic pattern now of advantage. One player on the chessboard, one player on the boxing ring. We're going to see them both becoming more and more aggressive on both. Let's remind ourselves, maybe, Matt, of the position that we had at the end of last round, the advantage that Gearoid has, and we can kind of maybe talk about what might be the plans for both. There we go. We have the position as we listen to the Icelandic thunderclap on screen. So, white to play. He's got the possibility to capture that rook in the corner, which will give him the material advantage there, Matt.
Yes. So I think white is going to play bishop takes a8. So that's absolutely the right move. In the long run, he has to be a little bit careful about his light squares because he's got the pawn on g3, which has created a bit of a light squared weakness. And without a light square bishop on the board, he could, in theory, come under some attack there. But I don't think black's pieces are well coordinated enough to take advantage of that. I think what black will need to do is capture with the queen, and then I assume white will castle. Black will castle. Black can't castle
Black
because
struggles because
he won't be able to castle.
D7.
Yeah.
So black has trouble. When you say castling, that's the one move you can make with 2 pieces in one move. So you tuck the king into the corner, and then the rook comes around. So black might also have some problems with his king being exposed in the middle, which you really don't. Really, one of the things in the early stage of the game, you want to tuck your king into safety. So black's really going to struggle here, Felix, despite having had a good boxing round.
Yes, no, I agree. I think black is very much on the back foot, on the ropes, as it were. Not just because of the material disadvantage, but by virtue of the fact that his pieces are so poorly coordinated. he can take the bishop, and then after white castles, he can't castle himself, which is fundamentally a problem because that knight will drop off the board. So he's got to take more time out in order to be able to coordinate his pieces. I think even once he does, it's very hard to take advantage of those light square weaknesses. And that's the bell!
Back with the chess. What a round of boxing match. So we had the player who is maybe the worst position on the board dropping his opponent in the boxing.
Yes, oh, so God, Black's blundered a piece! Black has blundered a piece! The Queen can take the knight on d7. Felix Lee, in spite of being the one putting in all the punches, basically, Gearoid didn't get a finger on Felix, but Felix, the hero of the boxing, has blundered a piece and he's taken it! And he's taken the knight. Oh my word, Black was in a horrible position, and it's just got a lot worse, Chris Levy.
That's right, so Gearoid is now up by an entire rook on his opponent, which in a game of chess between two strong players is really quite a lot of material there. A rook and a pawn, in fact. So for Felix, what I might be looking to do here is slow it down a little bit, knowing I've got the advantage on the boxing, just try and draw it out and make sure that you survive this round of chess.
Yes, so Felix has two strategies here. One, he can find some way, just some way to open up White's king side so that the weak light squares, so the square immediately in front of White's king, can be taken advantage of. So that's one strategy, and a very, very difficult one to put in play. The other one is basically to stall. Just do whatever he can to prolong the chess, play sensibly, don't blunder any more material, and hope that he can win in the boxing. But bishop to f5, Black's last move, is very crafty. What he's hoping to do, he stopped it. He stopped it. He was hoping to take the pawn and then threaten checkmate, but White was too clever for that.
So you mentioned those weak white squares. So yeah, Felix is behind on material. However, that queen that sat there tucked away in that top left-hand corner does rake down that longest diagonal of the board towards Gearoid's king. And if he can combine it with that bishop as well, then he might be able to whip up an attack despite having less material.
Yes, and I think the problem is that the bishop and queen are not coordinating well there at all. Ideally, so he's played queen e4. He's played queen e4, and I think his next move is to go bishop to c6 and threaten checkmate. But again, Gearoid has stopped that. But what he's done now is he's created a weakness on the dark squares. So you can see that two squares in front of White's king, there is a big, big hole that he can try and take advantage of. If he can get his queen into that g3 square, two squares in front of the king, then he'd be able to force a draw, and Black has taken a pawn! Black has taken a pawn. It's not enough, it's not enough, he's still completely lost. But, little bit of a psychological boost for Black.
I mean, we're down to 1 minute left in this round, and Felix has handled his worst position very well. Despite being down an entire rook, he's induced those pawns forward in front of Gearoid's king, creating that weakness, and...
So White has offered a trade of queens, which Black doesn't want to do, and he avoids it. He avoids it. Smart play by the Kabaddi champion. I really, really like that. Queen to b6. Potentially it can swing into the dark squares again. B4. So it looks as if Black can... Oh my God! He's won! Bishop to b5!
A skewer, man.
Was that a bow? Was that a bow by Felix Lee? I think it was. His hand has been raised, which raises questions about whether you can hear the commentary or not, but that's by the by. And pawn takes pawn! Pawn takes pawn, so Black is threatening to take the queen on c4, but then White would capture the queen with his pawn. So what Black needs to do is move his queen to not play too quickly and to maintain that threat. Because, Chris, you mentioned the skewer. Once the queen moves from c4, the rook on f1 drops, and that's the bell. Felix Lee still in a tough position, but a little bit of an initiative swing.
What a fight back. Will we see the same from Gearoid in the boxing ring? That was really very well played there from Felix. An objective lesson in how to play when you blundered a piece down a whole rook. He just continued to maneuver his queen around, induce those pawns forward, flustered Gearoid a little bit, drew his attention towards the king's side, and then when he was looking there, we didn't even see until the moment it was played, I think, that the skewer was on. So threatening the queen with the bishop, the queen has to sidestep, and then Felix will pick up the rook that's behind the queen in exchange for his bishop. He'll still then be down a bishop, but down a bishop rather than a rook is a lot better than it was at the start of the round.
And actually, now I look at the position properly, I think black can play queen c7 next move, and then once the queen drops back, he can play queen to g3,
Queen
forcing
G3.
a draw.
There's what we call perpetual check, which is just like where they could go on literally forever with the checks. If that queen works its way into g3, it can then oscillate between g3, take the pawn on h8, it doesn't really matter, but it basically check forever would mean a draw on the chessboard.
And a draw would be a phenomenal result for Felix Lee, given what we've seen already. But Chris, talk me through what both sides need to do here.
I mean, Gearoid just really needs to kind of really just level himself here. He had the advantage on the chess, was clearly so good at boxing. And Felix, buoyed by his comeback in the chess, is looking to throw the uppercut there as well. He's really looking for the power shots with his back right hand. So he's establishing the jab and the dominance, but looking for that blow that would get Gearoid down, as we saw in the first round. Gearoid is holding on there. Gearoid is looking to get through this. I mean, what a comeback from Felix, I think.
And I think given what we've seen in the chess, the fact that Felix has had an initiative swing, I think it looks like he might be able to force a draw as well. So he will be feeling much more confident now. Though Gearoid has had, I think, a less shaky start than last time, I would say.
I think he's being wary of that right hand. He's moving around a lot. So he is, as I said in the first round, on his bike. So I think you can see he's stepping back, trying to avoid the power shot and just get through there. The right lands to the body there. I certainly felt that one. That was straight into the liver of Gearoid. The body shot, the body shot drops him. So the body shot, it really takes the wind out of you and it stops you from running. He's taking the 8, taking a count, 6, 7, and he's on his feet. He is on his feet. The crowd are buoying him to get through. He's really struggling to get his, it's off.
He's gone!
It was that body shot. The body shot ends it.
Wow! Oh my giddy aunt.
That was right in the liver. I've been the recipient of one of those. You often think in the head is the ones that you associate with the KO. But once you get it really just right in that spot, then you just can't get back up. And that's going to take Gearoid a good couple of minutes to recover from.
Winning by technical knockout, give it up for Felix intensely! And let's have a huge round of applause for both our fighters. Gearoid, sex appeal, Veale, and Felix intensely! So Felix, just a couple of words if you don't mind.
That was very deserved.
That was pretty intense. How are you feeling?
Thank you. Feeling pretty tired, but that was a good workout for sure.
You got a little Hadouken power up then, didn't you?
Yeah, that came in handy. Years of playing fighting games.
Any words for the crowd tonight? We've been awesome supporting both fighters.
Okay, I guess this is a time where I give a shout out, right?
Yeah.
So, shout out to my mom and dad and my family. Shout out to all of my mini factory people. That's where I work. If you want 3D printing files,
we haven't been cleared for advertising, right? But give it up one more time for our fighter, Felix intensely. Well done, mate. Wow, that was a really exciting, intense bout of chess boxing. And we couldn't have called it after the first 2 rounds. That was crazy, and it just goes to show you have to master both disciplines, both the chess and the boxing. Falter on one, and it's game over, as we saw. So, next question. Are we ready for some feedback from our commentary team? Do you have anything to add? Chessboxing! Is everyone here ready?
Jem, I'm so sorry. I have a couple of...
No, we're not ready. We are ready. We're not. We're going to get some feedback from the commentary team. Oh, I can't hear them. That was the confusion.
No. I don't think we could be heard.
We ready for the next bout?
What a fight that one was.
I mean, it was a fantastic fight. And I think actually the really cool thing at the end was that Black had the ability to force a draw from a position that he was just a rook down for nothing. It was really tremendous. Queen back to c7, I think because the queen's being attacked, it can't drop back to e2. Then queen to g3 would have forced a draw. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, I think Felix was very deserved of the win.
It was, as I was saying, really like an exemplary piece of play there from being like major material down. Didn't get flustered, Felix, but thought about how to create problems, how to keep his opponent looking at, like, constantly looking out for different traps that were in the possession. And then I think the psychological advantage that he took from that test round from coming back in it, I think that then helped him to dishearten his opponent during the boxing. So it's a really good symbiosis of using the swing in one fight, in one discipline, to your advantage in the other one.
Yes, I completely agree with that, Chris. And I think for chess players at home, since people who are slightly newer to the game, I think the main learning I took from that is that it's the old adage that pawns don't move backwards, which is, on the one hand, technically, I mean, it's an undeniable truth. It's just how the pieces work. But actually, Gearoid's moves, G4, F3, for instance, created a hole on G3, which the Black Queen would have been able to exploit had the chess not been curtailed by the boxing. So even though Gearoid had a completely winning position, he created weaknesses that enabled his opponent to basically get back in the game, to pose impractical problems, which when you're being, punched a lot, that's enough to swing a game. And fundamentally, that would have been what happened in the chess. It would have been a draw, and then we could have just gone back into the boxing, which Felix deservedly won. So really instructive game, and I think you're right about the connection, the symbiosis between chess and boxing, very well articulated there.
Thank you, Matt, thank you. And let's not forget that they both only had 10 minutes at the start of the game, and less, obviously, as you go through the rounds. And, that might seem a long time for a game of chess, that's actually quite short. So you were talking about the World Championship at the start of our broadcast, and, they're games, and one game in the World Championship was a marathon that went on something like 8 hours at the highest level. So when you talk about 10 minutes each compared to 4 hours, then that really is a world of difference. And that in that scenario, even when you don't have boxing thrown into the mix, that's where, even when you're clearly on top, you can throw that away like in a moment, just with one blunder.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point. And when you're playing 10-minute chess, but handling your clock effectively, which it didn't end up becoming a key theme of this game, but it's a point to note. It's so vital, because there are always going to be inaccuracies when you get down to very little time, particularly since the players weren't getting what's called an increment, which you will have seen in the World Championship after move 40. The players got an extra 30 seconds every time they made a move, and that takes away a little bit of the pressure, because you can kind of calculate, but as long as the position is simple enough, you're going to have time to win it or draw it, or do whatever you need to do to get the best out of the position. Here, if your time goes, that's it, and clock management is vitally important. I think later on today we'll probably see that come to the fore a little bit more.
Especially as you get deep into the rounds. I mean, that was over quite quickly. But once you're going deep into a fight, and you're seeing some players with 2 minutes, 1 minute, or even less, then suddenly you're going to see the moves blitzed out, some very high-intensity chess. So that went over quite quickly, but what a lot was packed into it. Let's talk about our next fight. Daniel the Taxman Mayfield up against a newcomer, Arturas Lukosiunas from Lithuania. Lithuania, of course.
Oh, you're going to throw in some Lithuanian facts, Chris. Go on, let's hear it.
I mean, one of the most famous chess boxers of our time, Dima, the Beast of Peace, Agazarian, hails from Lithuania.
who is here today, and he is insanely strong.
Insanely strong, a powerlifting champion as well as. I mean, the kind of level that people have, these chess boxers have outside the ring, be it kabaddi or powerlifting or whatever else they turn their hands to. These really are the polymaths of the sporting world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. No, he's a very bright guy, very, very nice guy, and really packs a punch. Very good chess player. So he's here today with his Lithuanian colleague Arturas, who, well, as we kind of discussed at the top of this session, looks like he packs a punch. Seems like a very, very lovely man, but. You know, I think he's going to be a bit of a handful in the ring, if I'm honest.
It's an interesting battle of the generations as well. Almost twice the age, Arturas, so 53 years old, although looking very good for 53, I have to say. Dan, a relatively sprightly 26, so youth versus experience there. I'm intrigued to see how that plays out.
Yes, me too. I think the other we're back to Gem in the ring. Let's hear what she has to say.
Are just about ready to get going with our second bout of chess boxing. You up for it? Yeah! Hello. You all right? So, first up in the ring, this fighter describes himself as the original fake 80s man. Loved by few, hated by many, but feared by all. Ooh, very good, audience. I like you guys tonight. So, there are only two certainties in life: death and taxes. Yes, and this guy brings them both because he is an accountant. Well, quite. Let's make some noise in your white corner, weighing 83 kilograms, standing at 190 centimeters, with an elo of 1700. Make some noise for Daniel the Taxman Mayfield! So, let's see who's joining him in the ring. Our next fighter is 53 years old, and this is his first fight. Ooh. Oh, you're very good. Great audience here in the dome tonight. He helps coach his two sons to box, and now it's his chance to shine. But his two sons are in the audience somewhere. Where are they? Somewhere, apparently. And when he's not chess boxing, oh, this is sweet. This is really sweet. When he's not chess boxing, he loves to dog walk. Oh, that's nice. So, in the black corner, weighing 85 kilograms, standing at 176 centimeters, with a chess elo of 1200. Give it up for Arturas Lukosiunas! Fighters are looking ready. Audience here in London, how are you feeling? Yes, that's what I like to hear. So let's hear it for our fighters. Daniel Taxman Mayfield and Arturas Lukosiunas.
Dan, you fucking have this. I fucking know you. You've got this.
Predictions, Chris Levy?
This is impossible to say. Arturas looks a very mean looking fighter there. He looks like he'll bring some intensity to the chess. We saw some very intense chess in that first bout. Are we going to see the same Matlan in this second?
Yes, I'm excited for the chess here. Dan Mayfield, a very, very competent player. Arturas, little bit of an unknown, if I'm honest. So this could really go any which way. Arturas equally an unknown in the boxing. At the same time, his CV sounds absolutely terrifying.
Absolutely. Certainly on the boxing, let's see how his chess pedigree shapes up in this first round. He has the black pieces, so a slight advantage to Dan in leading off in this crucial opening phase, which we saw in the last bout. The first round really established who was on top, but then Felix came swinging back, so let's see how it pans out. Canwal has it all set up. It looks like we're about to go.
Dan, of course, keeping his Donald Trump tie on for this bout. Will it help him or will he hinder him? Let's find out. And we're off! D4 from Dan Mayfield, the Queen's Gambit, permeating the public consciousness, and it continues here. Arturas is having a think.
Interesting ploy on the first move. Usually a player knows exactly what he's going to play. Is this psychology from Arturas, or is he wondering already?
You know what I would love, Chris? For Arturas to basically look at Canwal and say, I'm not playing, I'm just going to punch Dan in the face shortly. Oh, he's played a move!
26.
Dan has played e4. We have a modern opening. There is an interesting strategy that some chess boxers adopt, which is to play the hippopotamus opening, which is on the cards today, for if Black were to move his bishop one square diagonally, move the pawns in front of his queen and king one square, put the knights in those spaces, or put his light squared bishop in the same setup on the queen side of the board, and then basically just rest and say, you know, I'm going to hold on to this position for a while. What the heck are you going to do about it?
So what we see here is two different styles. Basically, you want to be able to control the center from the opening. White, Dan the taxman, is doing it in the classical style. He's putting his pawns there. He's saying, I'm going to grab this ground. I'm going to control it. I'm going to develop my pieces around and behind it and attack you from there. Arturas is trying to control it from the sides, which is, as you were saying, a more modern way. He's stuck that bishop on the long diagonal, tucked up there in the right corner, and he's saying, I'm going to hold my pawns back.
Knight to f6. Dan immediately responds with knight to c3. E5 was also an option, but I think Arturas probably needs to move his queen's pawn one square forward here. Otherwise, White can move his pawn, his king's pawn, one square forward, and that knight doesn't have a great square to go to. The other key thing is Arturas has already used nearly 2 minutes for his first 3 moves, and I'm starting to worry that this might become a problem later in the bout.
If it goes deep, then certainly he's going to have to make a lot of moves very quickly. I wonder if what he's employing here is a boxing-first strategy. So almost deliberately taking his time.
Oh, he's castled. So I think White can move his pawn forward. Is he going to do it? He's not going to do it. Oh, Daniel. Bishop to e3. I think now if Black plays his knight to g4, so L-shape towards the king's rook, that's actually quite a useful positional idea. It opens up the dark squared bishop, and he can then try to undermine that big pawn center with a move like pawn to c5, his queen's bishop pawn 2 squares forward. And if he allows Black to take the bishop, then actually Black's got a little bit of a positional trump in the form of the bishop pair. But he's played pawn to b6. Dan instantly plays queen d2. I like the instant moving strategy because he's miles ahead on the clock. But I still think knight to g4 is the right plan, albeit b6, maybe there were more active moves Black could have played instead, Chris.
So yeah, Black basically trying to do with his bishop on the queen side, the light squared bishop, what he did with the bishop on the king side, which is to develop it to the longest diagonals of the board and control the position from there, sniping across.
Oh, e5. So he's played it. He's played the move, ladies and gentlemen. E5. I think. Yeah, damn right, Wu. I think the thing is now, though, the knight does have a square and has a useful square on g4. He can also potentially play the knight to d5 in the grid. So 3 squares in front of the black queen. That's a little less good. I like knight to g4 here. The only thing you need to be careful of is if the bishop moves to f4, then h3 threatens to win a piece. So maybe knight d5 is safer, and that's the bell. Quite a quiet opening round, Chris.
Some slow play there. There's still lots going on in the position. I certainly prefer Dan's position somewhat. He has more space there. He's threatening to push his opponent off the board. It's maybe a little bit too passive there from Arturas, and I think he could get squashed if he's not careful in the next round.
Yes, and you know what? I'm not 100% convinced by the idea of playing knight g4 anymore. The problem is that I think if you play bishop to f4, it's too slow to kind of really achieve anything in terms of getting c5 in or something and undermining the center, whereas white then has pawn to h3 winning the knight. So I think actually knight to d5 is probably the right plan. Or actually, sorry, knight to e4. Knight to e4 is maybe slightly more accurate. I mean, you could get a tempo against the bishop, though, with knight
either
g5.
of them would potentially swap off the knight on c3. So as a matter of principle, if one has less space, as Arturas certainly does as black, sometimes you want to swap off pieces because they have a little bit less room.
So which move are you thinking of, Chris?
So like d5, I think, basically after the bishop goes to f4, then the knight can take on c3. I might be looking to swap off the pair of knights.
I see.
Having the space disadvantage,
well, yeah,
I think. Or you could do knight e4 with the same endpoint, because the queen obviously has to move, and then play knight takes c3.
So I think bishop f4 is only the move if black plays knight to g4, and I think knight to g4, which was a really strong idea quite recently, is now potentially a mistake because he's effectively trapping his knight on that square. But it should be an interesting boxing round, Chris, and as mentioned, Arturas a little bit of an unknown, so we have the opportunity to learn quite a lot about his game in this round.
I am wondering if he was deliberately playing slow in the chess, because he fancies himself on the boxing here. And he's certainly come out quite aggressively behind that high guard, looking to land on Dan from the off. Dan looking to snipe from the back foot there. Did land a couple of... he's countered back. He's countered back the initial assault there from Arturas.
So...
That was smart counter-punching from Dan. He made sure he was moving back, drawing Arturas on, and did land a couple of stinging blows. Arturas not dissuaded, though. He's coming back behind that high guard, just looking to get up close and land some body shots.
Yes, I think Dan has handled himself with aplomb so far, actually. After that initial flurry, I thought, oh God, this is going to be quick. But actually, he's allowed things to settle a little bit, hasn't he?
It's a bit of a case of poacher turned gamekeeper, in that Dan does like to be the one coming out with the flurries. Actually, what he's doing here is letting Arturas come onto him, albeit landing some very heavy punches, but he is getting his counters in there. And we're now approaching the halfway point in this round. I was speaking to Dan a bit earlier, and he was telling me on the boxing his plan was to try and take it quite deep and make his youth advantage count. So banking on his fitness there, he's looking to maybe even drop a couple of rounds on points, but come on stronger later in the boxing. And you can see already Arturas' activity has dropped off a little bit as we approach the 2 minutes into this round mark. 1 minute left, and a good left there landed by Dan. Dan is definitely coming back into this, make it quite an even round.
Yes, I got to be honest, I thought Arturas would be the heavy favourite here, but actually Dan has acquitted himself well, and Arturas can only have maybe one more round where he lets his time dip to such a dramatic fashion. At some point, he is going to have to be more active in the chess, so I think the fact he's not got in any heavy blows here will be a big comfort to Dan.
Interesting contrast to styles as well, noting the height difference. So Dan, as one would expect from the taller, leaner fight, looking to keep it at distance with the straight punches. Arturas, with that high guard, he's basically looking to walk through those punches and land the hooks up close. As we now move towards 30 seconds left in the round, you can see it's taking its toll on both fighters. Arturas there breathing through the mouth as well. Dan perhaps looking the fresher of the two, and has certainly come back strong in the latter half of this round.
Oh, and a late flurry from the taxman.
And again, you really do want to come on strong towards the end of the round. Leave your opponent perhaps a little bit bewildered and certainly gasping for air, then back into the chest. A cracking round of boxing there, Matt. I really enjoyed that. That's some really good cut and thrust, to and fro, a good contrast in styles. I cannot wait to see this back to the chess as well.
Yes, and I think, I mean, the chess hasn't progressed a ton. We've only played a handful of moves, but already Black has a decision to make, and there are a couple of ways that he can go wrong. He can play knight to h5 doesn't drop a piece, but the knight is kind of effectively trapped there, and he needs to be very careful. If he plays knight to g4, then actually bishop to f4 may leave that knight really short of squares. You probably have to then play a move like f6 to mix things up, but it looks a little bit dicey at that point and very, very complex. So maybe Black should be playing a move like knight e4 or knight d5, unless he's worked out the complications of knight g4, which, as I say, is a very, very messy line after f6.
Yeah, I have maybe a slight preference of the two lines for knight e4. In that if you play knight to d5, it does at least leave the option for Dan of playing bishop h6, which is what he's been clearly eyeing up. It's not the most subtle of ploys, but a very effective one against that dark squared bishop in front of the king. You play the bishop to h6, look to exchange off the bishop on g7, which is doing a very good job of defending the king, and a very weak dark squares. So knight to e4 would then either force the exchange, so knight takes e4, or drop him at the queen to c1, which I really wouldn't fancy.
Yes,
there.
and I think, I mean, I like knight e4 as a move. I think takes bishop takes, knight to g5 is a line. I don't think it's particularly scary for Black. The bishop drops back to b7, and then you can start trying to undermine the center and try to prove that those pawns in the center are overexposed as opposed to an asset. But we have a really, really interesting round in store, and as I said, I think Arturas is going to have to speed up now.
Yeah, but he's down already to 5 minutes on the clock compared to Dan's 8, so he's going to get in time trouble really quite soon if he plays at that speed.
Yeah, no, and as I say, I think one more round. You can have one more attritional round, but then the next round is just going to become so complex. Arturas, if he really slows things down, would have to be winning in the boxing, and that's the bell. Chris, we were discussing there are a couple of ways for Black to go wrong here. So, knight back to e8. Just as I'm about to explain some things, it was immediately made redundant, so let's move on. Bishop to h6. So, interesting idea for White here. You can follow this up by moving the rook's pawn, harry the h pawn, 2 squares forward, then 1 square forward, trying to break open the king side via the g6 pawn, and maybe, just maybe, force a checkmate.
This very attacking ploy by Dan here. What he's looking to do is exchange the dark squared bishops, so the one on h6 to the one on g7. The dark squared bishop for Arturas plays a very important role defending his king. So he's looking to set up a kingside attack here. And look at the clocks, Matt. There's almost twice as much time that Dan has compared to how much Arturas has.
Yes, Arturas has 4.5 minutes left. So if he allows his clock to properly tick down, he has a huge chance of losing on time in the chess. Now, he's played this pawn move, a6. Oh, Dan immediately capturing on g7. I don't like that move. I think the threat, maintaining the threat of doing it and playing pawn to h4 instead was much stronger. But oh my goodness, he's going for for a similar idea. So, ladies and gentlemen, white is threatening to play knight to g5 here. Knight to g5 with queen takes h7, which would be checkmate.
This looks very hard to defend against.
But, ladies and gentlemen, black can capture that knight on f3. Black can capture that knight on f3, stopping the threat. But if that happens, then white's other knight can swing into the g5 square via e4 and once again threaten checkmate.
Trouble here for Arturas. He really needs to think very hard, and there's 2 minutes still to survive in the chess round to get back to the boxing. I think he's played a bit too passively here. That last move, just moving that pawn at the side of the board forward, really did nothing for his position there, whilst he's coming under sustained attack on the king's side.
Oh dear lord, he's playing knight, he's at knight g5! Knight to g5! Knight to g5! And that forces checkmate! That forces checkmate! Dan can see it! He's laughing, he's taken his headphones off. My goodness, something is going to kick off soon. Arturas is thinking, but I don't think there's a way out. Queen takes, wait for Dan to put his headphones back on. Queen takes h7, 1 square forward is checkmate, and that would bring the game to a close. If he moves his rook, creating a space for his king, then queen takes h7, the king moves 1 square, and then queen h8 is checkmate. So I think it's over. But will Arturas stall and give us 1 more round of boxing?
I certainly hope so, but there's only less than a minute left in this round. So really he has to try and draw it out, and if that happens, he has to go all out for KO in the boxing, because he's not going to last on the chess 1 more round.
Just look at Dan Mayfield's little face. He's nodding to himself. He's looking around now. He knows it's over. Arturas is about to move, and he's about to move a piece on the queen side. Don't do it, Arturas! That will lose! No, he's touched it! He's touched a piece, he has to move it! He has to move it! Dan has a checkmate in 1 move. Will he allow 1 more round of boxing? Oh no, is he going to? Is he going to? He's done it! He's done it! It's over! It's checkmate! The taxman has tax won!
He always collects in the end, and he collected the opponent's king.
Oh, let's get in. Love it, Aldo. Wowee. Right, we'll wait for our fighters to acknowledge what's just happened here. That was such an exciting, maddeningly wild bout of chess boxing. Again, totally a game of 2 halves. Someone bringing it, killing it in the chess. Someone with an unknown entity in the boxing. So, let's call it our winner with checkmates in the chess, Dan the Taxman Mayfield! Let's give it up for both our fighters. Well done, Arturas, and well done to Dan the Taxman. Right, we're gonna... Oh, he's got a belt. Now, Dan, I'm going to grab a few words with you in a second. All right, let's get over towards that corner so we've got a bit of space. So, yeah, lovely. All I can say is wow. Do you have any words about that experience? That was mad.
Incredible. It was great. It was pretty good.
And fighting someone who is like an unknown entity, what was that like, especially with the boxing?
Terrifying. I said goodbye to everyone who mattered just in case, you know, but I'm alive. It's good to be alive.
Death and taxes have prevailed. And what have you won today?
Just won my belt back, British light heavyweight champion.
Give him a huge round of applause, British lightweight champion. Yeah, heavyweight, light heavyweight champion. Give it up 1 more time for Death and Taxes, Dan the Taxman Mayfield! Oh, we are feeling the love here in the room at the Dome in Tuffnel Park. We need to hear a bit of analysis from our commentary team. The chess was wild. What was going on? We're going to hear that after a quick break and word from our sponsors. Over to the commentary team. Thank you.
Thanks, Jem. What a match. So Dan had a very clear attacking plan there. From Arturas in the opening, and Dan ruthlessly punished that passivity.
No, I couldn't have said it better myself, Chris Levy. I thought it was a very controlled game by White. I think there were a couple of moments where had Black found the right positional ideas, like there was a moment early on where he could have played his knight to g4 in response to bishop e3, threatening to take that bishop and also threatening to, he could have moved his pawn to c5 and attack the center. I think at that point it becomes a really interesting positional game. But ultimately, Dan Mayfield's experience held out. He had a sneaky checkmate attack. He knew what to do. He went for it. And Arturas, as the less experienced player, didn't see it coming.
It's a good pattern to remember that one. So swap the bishops off, then move the queen in on the weakened king side and the knight to follow up against somebody who's not perhaps the ultimate highest level of a chess player. That can work really quite well, but credit to both of them, and what a round of boxing as well. That was some good back and forth that I particularly enjoyed.
Yes, the boxing was, I think, a tremendous piece of work by both parties. Arturas obviously handled himself in great credit. But Dan, who I thought might struggle in the boxing, equipped himself really, really well. He didn't take any heavy blows, and as a consequence, he had his head fresh for the chess, which he then finished with aplomb. I think we're going to a quick break now, Chris the General Levy.
10 minutes, and I believe we're back for the second half. So
we'll be back in 10 minutes. There's Gamma on tap. Go enjoy yourselves.
Give it up for
the Joker!
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready for chess boxing! Round one, chess!
What? If you want to understand the mystery of chess boxing, you gotta go through the history of chess boxing.
Well, the first piece is the pawn.
I got the idea from the comic from Enki Bilal.
Moi j'avais lancé l'idée, j'avais lancé un peu un concept, mais lui il en a fait quelque chose de réel.
Round two, boxing!
I like the perversity of the change from the very physical to the totally cerebral.
The number one fighting sport with the number one thinking sport. Tell me about one combination that's more fascinating than chess boxing.
I love working with people that have brilliant ideas, and Ipo is one of those guys that has brilliant ideas.
Vielleicht ist es in 5 Jahren, aber der Weltmeister im Schachboxen ist the smartest, toughest man on the planet.
We founded a lot of clubs now. We're going forward to spread chess boxing all over the world.
There's no one who's done more for chess boxing than me.
If we don't come clean in the beginning, we're going to have problems in the future. Big problems. We're going to fight each other.
This is a shot showing the true inventor of chess boxing in London.
He's trying to falsify history, which is not very nice. I know English, they're tough people, but they have no brain.
Tim is not earning a living.
I have sunk everything into this show.
If chess boxing doesn't get any bigger, then he will persevere until it bankrupts him.
You know something, yeah, I mean, all this time people have been saying there's one fight they want to see, and that's London versus Berlin. It's Tim versus Ipo.
He doesn't know what he's dealing with here.
Ich hatte eigentlich ein paar Fragen.
No, this is a disaster.
And we're actually back after a couple of technical difficulties there, Matt. Back for the second half. 2 exciting bouts to come. I think we need to go straight to Gemma to introduce them.
Alrighty, we are finally back in the room. Let's hear it, crowds. Yes. And give one more big cheer for all the people tuning in on the stream. Welcome back to your second half. We've got 2 more chess boxing bouts for you. And the first one tonight, audience, are we going to like this? This is the fight of the financial chess boxers. You'll see what I mean, because the first chess boxer in the ring, who comes all the way from Bulgaria, it's a nice place, I've been on my holidays there, he actually specifically comes from a town which is technically the poorest economic region in Europe. However, for his day job, he works in algorithmic trading. It's so exciting. I'm so excited by this. And his specialism is a cheeky wink. I know, it's fantastic. So, in the white corner, weighing in at 86 kilograms, standing at 192 centimeters, with a chess elo of 1400, make some noise for Yordan, Bulgarian beast Yordanov! Keep those cheers coming! Come on! Yes! Your white corner fighter! Give the crowd a cheeky wink. Yes, that is a cheeky wink. I can confirm. All right, so joining the Bulgarian beast in the ring, we have a fighter who is proudly representing the North. He actually comes from Blackburn. Any Northerners in? Oh, you're a bit quiet. Any Northerners in? All right, that's what I expect. So for anyone who's from London here in the Dome in Tuffnel Park, North is north of Islington on the map. All right? Yeah. So our next fighter's hobbies include ferret rearing, pigeon fancying, and drinking warm beer. He sounds like a riot. Let's welcome in. So in the black corner, weighing 105 kilograms, standing at 188 centimeters with a chess elo of 2267. Give it up for David, Northern Powerhouse, Jarmany! David, Northern Powerhouse, Germany! All right, in the battle of the special moves of the Northern Sledgehammer and the cheeky wink, I'm excited about this bout. Give it up one more time for our fighters, the Bulgarian Beast and the Northern Powerhouse! And I'll hand back to our commentary team.
The thing is, Chris, David Jarmany is a flippin' good chess player, isn't he?
two heavyweights in the boxing sense, but you heard there the mention of his ELO rating of over 2,200. That makes him a very strong chess player.
And for those of you who've been playing on chess.com in lockdown, this won't be his chess.com rating. This is probably the equivalent of 2,500.
And the Berserker is in.
Oh, the Berserker's here! Get ready to clap. Lovely stuff.
So round one, Yordan, a late replacement. So you'll see the name Lars Bjorknes at the bottom with the white pieces. Lars unfortunately had to withdraw at the last moment. Yordan, though, a more than able opponent for David, we're hoping here.
Yep, so white is in fact Yordanov, pride of Bulgaria, playing with the white pieces against David Jarmany, a very, very strong chess player, not a bad boxer either. This could be a tough, tough fight for Yordan. It's about to kick off. I know you're all excited.
Referee Calmon's about to start the clock.
And we're off! Oh, and it's D4 again. What a surprise by Yordan, which is known as the Queen's Gambit. David Jarmany once again responding with D5. And, Yordan, no respect for the North, is playing the London system.
This is a very trendy opening. Yordan clearly knows his stuff if he's wheeling this setup out. He's confident, he's moving quickly. I think we've got a game on our hands here, Matt.
We do indeed. Yordan going for the classic London system setup. Super, super solid, which I actually really like in this context against a stronger opponent. Normally, when you play a stronger player, you want the position to be as tactical and messy as possible because that increases the chance of them messing up. But this ain't no ordinary chess game. There's boxing involved, famously, and as a consequence, being really solid here is a great strategy if you think you can win at the boxing.
So remember again, Yordan with the white pieces, not Lars, but this is really, he's playing this opening just as it should be. It's a very classical setup, as you were saying. Develops the pieces, the dark squared bishop is outside that little triangle of pawns, the white squared bishop shelters behind it on a very good diagonal there. This is good stuff from Yordan with the white pieces.
This is very, very solid stuff from white. Like it a lot. David going for the C5 pawn break. He wants to change the nature of his position. Oh, and he's taken it! He's taken the pawn! So, knight takes pawn is the natural response, and then he'll be attacking the bishop. He does capture back. He captures back, and white, if he's not careful, could lose that bishop on D3, Chris Levy.
He needs to either drop it back on either of those diagonals, maybe one square, or move. There you go, he's just tucked it away, kept it safe. David responds by casting, getting his king safe. That's an interesting move. What do you think of that, Matt?
So Queen B1 keeping control, or increasing control over the E4 square, potentially following up with an attack on the queen side with his A and B pawns. The problem he has here is he can't play B4 that easily without weakening the C3 square, and the C3 square is further weakened by the fact, effectively, that that rook next to the queen is trapped in the corner. So Queen B1 is a cute move, but I'm not 100% certain about it. Now, knight F to D7. David is going to play pawn to E5, but first he needs to move his bishop back or take the knight, and he's taken the knight! And he's followed up with E5 instantly. Lovely stuff by the Northerner. That's really, really quality chess right there.
So it's a bit like what we saw in the last round with getting those two pawns next to each other. So if you remember, the taxman had that setup there where he just grabbed the center with his pawns and then slowly pushed the opponent back. Is there a danger that this could be happening slowly to Yordan too?
Well, I think before we do that, in honor of this wonderfully positionally played game, does anyone fancy a chant of chess? Chess? Chess! 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 and just entomb that bishop on h2. It can, of course, sweep over to h4, but David, with his enormous pawn centre, is playing very, very aggressively, and Yordan is having to lash out with this move, b4. Knight to e4 is a really, really nice move. Now, normally, you don't want doubled pawns, but those pawns are so strong that actually doubling them and moving them closer to the centre of the board threatens to suffocate the white position, and I think white is a bit worse here.
That was some very exciting, aggressive chess. White starts off right. I'm a devotee of the London system myself, and I really enjoy seeing that setup wheeled out. And he was playing all the right moves there. Perhaps, I mean, it's not a huge blunder or anything, but when he took the c-pawn with his d-pawn, giving up the centre, that's really against the spirit of it. And David has responded by hurling his pawns forward, the d and the e pawn grabbing that stake in the centre, and then with the f-pawn really cementing his aggressive intentions before the next chess round.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think the problem that Yordan has here is that he's got too many weaknesses already. He had that really, really solid start, but that bishop on g3 will be taken by the knight if he doesn't do anything, which would leave him with horrible pawns on e3, double pawns on the g file, and that c3 pawn. He's also threatening knight takes c3, meaning that white more or less has to take that knight, giving up his light squared bishop, and David will capture back with the f-pawn, and actually those pawns could be a huge asset. The one thing that Yordan does have going for him in that position is that it does start to get a little bit messy. Now, I would prefer to have black here, but I think the position is messy enough, particularly with boxing in the equation, that there should be a lot of interesting play left.
Yep, so advantage David, the powerhouse. There's still a lot to go on the chess, but now I think we're ready to have a look at the boxing and see how these two match up. Yordan I've not seen before, but certainly physically looks a match for David. These are two true prime heavyweights in the sense of the word. A lot of beef in the ring there. Let's see who lands the heavier punches.
Beef alert.
Beef alert. Indeed. Referee Ronaldo issuing his last instructions. Let's have a look who establishes the early dominance. Yordan certainly looks up for it. And a nice little tap at the start of the first round. Both looking, Yordan there with a nice doubling up of the jab. Yeah, Yordan landing the jab early. David looking to pump it out too. David certainly looks chiseled. He's been working hard out of his training camp just around the corner in Arturas at Islington Boxing Club. This is typical of what you see with the bigger men. You often look to establish the classical, the jab straight away to look at who has the dominance, and that is a very well-educated jab from Yordan, followed up with the right hand to the body.
What I would posit here, it's a slightly cagier start than what we've seen because all of the other fights have been so aggressive from the off, but there's still a few punches being landed without one side necessarily getting the upper hand yet.
David just narrowly missing with a straight right there. And I think the difference when you get to the heavyweights like this is they're both aware of the power that each other brings. So there, when a power punch with the right hand lands, then it could be serious trouble. And a brief pause here. Referee Ronaldo is having a word with David as the gum shield comes out. We're halfway through the round almost, close to 1.5 minutes on the clock. I certainly think Yordan's had slightly the better of it. Just a bit more aggressive and landing the jab more often, but it's again good back and forth. The cut and thrust of top level boxing.
And I think Yordan having slightly the better, it will make for a more entertaining spectacle because David has slightly the better of it in the chess. So, thoughts so far? I mean, how is David getting on? Like, will he have realistic ambitions of winning the boxing off the back of this performance so far?
I mean, it's definitely going to be Jordan's round if it continues as it is. And just as we were talking there, Jordan landed a nice sort of a jab and then a kind of jab check hook with the left. So David's certainly taking a few punches, even if it's nothing that's looked like rocking him. It's a clear round for Yordan on the points there at the moment. Hey, looking for the uppercut as well. That was quite close. So now Yordan's having established the dominance with the jab. is looking to build off the back of that with the power punches in there as well. David has to be wary of this, I think. A little punch after the break there, and the gum shield comes out again for David. As the clock ticks down, 25 seconds left in this round. This may be the last of the action as he will hold back to the chess mat.
Will both sides be happy to leave that round to have, suss each other out a little bit without necessarily landing any heavy punches? Do you think they'll be happy with that?
I think Yordan will be happy to know he's established some early dominance. David will know what he is dealing with in the ring. Oh, did land a big right just on the gong there. But I think David now knows that he probably needs to be looking to speed things up a little bit on the chess, because Yordan is packing some heat in there. And I do wonder if there might be some trouble if it goes deep in the boxing. A little bit of controversy here as to the bell. Referee Ronaldo asking for it to be bashed a little bit harder there, but that's the end of the round. A round that was very good for late replacement Yordanov. How would you be playing this now as David, going back to the chess?
As David, I'd be wanting to do two things. One, try to take advantage of existing pawn weaknesses and create some more. The other thing I would look to do is undertake a pawn break that's going to damage White's position further, and try to open up the king or to increase some kind of my control with my pieces. So I think bishop takes e4 is maybe forced here, because the threat of knight takes g3 is quite strong, and knight takes c3 is very strong as well. So if you play bishop takes e4, you either take back with the d pawn, which then gives you this nice f4 pawn break, or you take back with the f pawn, and then you've got this half open file for your rook. And actually, Chris, I think taking with the d pawn, given that you're threatening f4 next move, might be the way to go. I've changed my mind since my initial assessment. I think bishop takes d takes might be the right plan.
Options. He has options which come from a very well played opening.
And it's the Berserker in the room. With the classic thunderclap to herald the beginning of the next round.
David Jarmany, the Powerhouse, getting in the spirit of things there. Back to the board. As you say, a very pleasant position for him. Good options. First of all, is Yordan going to see that he has to play bishop takes knight? That's the first question to be answered, because it's not always clear when you come back to the chess after a rambunctious round of pugilism like we just witnessed.
But maybe less rambunctious than some of the previous rounds. Both sides may have a little bit more of a clear head. I do think bishop takes e4 is forced. Oh, hello. And we're back! So, can they hear us? Okay, so that knight on e4 is a really, really dangerous piece. It's threatening to take the bishop on g3, creating horrible pawn weaknesses on e3 and g3 to go along with the pawn weakness on c3. So that's a useful tool in Black's arsenal, if you will. It's also threatening knight takes c3, winning a pawn and opening up the dark squares for his lovely bishop in front of the king. So I think White has to play bishop takes e4.
But
he's played bishop h2. He's played bishop h2. Knight takes c3. Knight takes c3, and he's done it! Knight takes e3. That is a big move, and queen to b3 straight away. Queen to b3 straight away, and David instantly plays rook to c8, defending the knight. So David has won a pawn. He has an enormous pawn center, which is going to potentially steamroller the white position. I think that White is in a bit of trouble here, Chris Levy.
It certainly is an enormous pawn center. I am marveling at the size of it and the potential that it has, as you say, to steam forward and push Yordan off the way.
He's allowing a check. Move. He's allowing a check. Knight e2 check is a possibility, but David calmly moving his king to HA because he couldn't move his queen's pawn because that would have been check. But now, he's blundered a rook. He's blundered an exchange. Rook c1, and now knight e2 check. Knight e2 check. It's a fork. It's a fork. The knight is hitting the king, the knight is hitting the rook, and because it's check, and you have to respond to check, he can't save the rook. He can't save the rook, and he's going to take it, and he has won a rook for a knight. It keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
But there's still a lot of material left on the board, And as we saw, the boxing was quite back and forth. So I don't think Lars is in danger of losing immediately. We've got 2 minutes left in this round still. Lars is doing the right thing here, which is just taking the time after losing some material, reassess the new circumstances, and see how can I best defend being a little bit material down. And although David still has a very strong position, that pawn center is it's intact, there's no immediate danger here, man.
So I think White needs to start creating some threats of his own. I like knight g5, just vaguely. Oh, he's taken the pawn! So David has sacrificed the pawn in order to activate his queen and pin that bishop on c2, which now can't move. And he's threatening to trade queens. He's threatening to trade queens, which would be advantageous for black, because when you're material up, swapping off pieces makes it easier to get to a winning ending. The other problem with queen takes queen is after the rook takes, the other rook will swing behind that rook and win the bishop on c2. So whatever White does, he shouldn't trade queens, and he hasn't! He's not trade queens. Very, very nice. He's also protecting the f4 square, which means the pawn break f4 for black is now a little bit harder to execute. But David still has a phenomenally pleasant position. He can move his f8 rook to the d file, which he's just done, meaning that he can move the knight, attacking the queen, and just continue to squeeze, continue to pile the pressure on. And will we see Yordan crack under this northern pressure?
There's still just 25 seconds left, and I think Yordan has defended quite well after that early blunder. He's clearly got the worst position, less material, but he's going to see this round out. And again, very smartly taking his time, making sure he doesn't compound it. Yep, that's a canny move. He just tucks the queen away, out of danger, out of the sight of that rook that was eyeing it up. I like that, and the bell's about to go.
And that's the bell. David threatening to swap off queens again. A round that has swung heavily in favour of David Jarmany. A lot rests on this next round of boxing.
I mean, absolutely. It's definitely a better position for David, but you have to take a hat off to Yordan, stepping in at the last minute here. Didn't know that he was taking this fight. Didn't know who his opponent was, who he could prepare for. So I think he's acquitted himself very well on both the boxing and the chess to still be in this as he move into the second round of boxing here, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. It's such a thing to go from being just an attendee at this event to actually stepping in and fighting without necessarily having geared yourself up on the mental side. The key thing is we always make sure that everyone is safe and well, and that we foster an atmosphere where people are only doing this if they feel kind of they're in a position to do it. No one is under undue pressure, and I think that kind of just and fair atmosphere is integral to having a really fun night. And for Yordan to basically say, you know what, I'm going to step in and I am going to kind of give it my best. Under the circumstances, I hold my hat out to him. If that's a phrase, it isn't, but yeah, he's done a cracking job, and he's not playing badly at all. Just David's extra experience, coupled with that specific blunder allowing knight takes c3, has been game-changing, and I think he needs to have a big boxing round now.
I really would not want to face David Jarmany, even having had weeks to prepare for him over the board. But we did see Yordan, I would say, if not dominating, certainly clearly taking the first boxing round. And I would expect to see him try and build on that with an aggressive approach here in the second round. And you can see he's on his toes, again looking to establish the jab and build on it with a powerful right hand that he very nearly landed there. David, though, not getting too flustered and landing a couple of counters on his own. This is high-quality heavyweight stuff here, Matt.
Oh.
And again, the check hook landed, and looking for the follow-up with the uppercut. Good to see a tap of gloves there. Mark of mutual respect as David was grappling the back of the head there of Yordan. These two clearly do have a lot of respect for each other. You love to see it.
Oh, absolutely, Chris, absolutely. Yordan is tackling this in the most perfect way possible. He's bringing the fight to David. I'm sure he knows that he won't win the chess, and in fact he's in real danger if things go a bit south, that he loses next round. He has very little time on the clock, so he has 1, maybe 2 boxing rounds left, and I think if he doesn't land a key punch here, either to discombobulate David or to bring it closer to a technical knockout, then he's in trouble.
Again, good combinations from Yordan here, looking for the uppercut, landing a couple, and then following up with a left to the body as well. David's soaking it up well though, but you can see he's starting to gasp for air a little bit. And we're only halfway through this round. I think Yordan's starting to build up a head of steam here. David needs to do something, really start firing back to dissuade him, because he's now starting to plow forward and land some punishing shots.
If you're David here, knowing how well the chess is going and knowing that you're on the back foot a bit in the boxing, what's your strategy?
I might be looking to hold a little bit, mainly just to draw things down. But David is actually looking to fire back there. A couple of big overhand rights there. And he landed a big shot on Yordan as he came in. This is really starting to heat up now between these two big men. Two big men putting on a big display of boxing to match the chess that we saw earlier.
Do you think another round of boxing could win it for Yordan? Would that be enough?
It would certainly be on the cards, but David, I'm loving how he's firing back here. He could be looking to hold on, cover up, see it into the chest where he has the advantage, but he's relishing this testing opponent. I think he wants to prove himself in the ring as well. We know he's a quality chess player. He's been training so hard since his last outing. I think he wants to show that so he can step up against this demanding opponent. The uppercut landed again for Yordan, but a good check left hook there from David as we move to the last 10 seconds.
And Yordan loses a little bit of time at the end. I don't think it's going to be a killer bunch. I think we're about to have the bell.
The gong is about to be rung. I'd certainly want to watch more of this. I hope we don't see things over in the next test round, because I'm enjoying this quality exhibition of boxing now.
I think we need another round of boxing. We absolutely need another round of boxing for this to be one of the classic Chessboxing Nation fights, and that is indeed the bell.
And the two of them there giving each other the high five. You can tell they both are loving this, as the crowd are here at the Boston Dome.
And wow, I mean, I think Yordan's going to be really happy with that. I guess the question will be, is it enough? And really it comes down to his chess strategy here. It's very, very tempting to swap off queens here, but actually the pressure on the c2 square would be so great, coupled with the fact that the king is horribly placed, the bishop and knight are out of the game. David can play very simple moves after that. Yordan has to find a way to keep queens on and somehow get a little bit of initiative. The problem is black doesn't have any weaknesses in the position. You can play a move like knight g5, but it's not really threatening anything. There's no pawn breaks here for white, and that is a real issue.
The other thing that would concern me is the weakness of the back rank as well. So not just the fact that he could be potentially losing that rook, even if he exchanges off queens, the pin of the c2 bishop on the rook, and then the king potentially hemmed in as well. I think it's going to be very hard for Yordan to get through this round. Again, the two of them showing a bit of respect there as the Berserker is in. The crowd are really getting into this now, Matt.
David resting in the corner there. He looks completely shattered, but he's fortunate that actually he doesn't have many complicated decisions to play on the board. He just needs to play in a way that is going to make the best use of the time available, because ideally he would finish it this round. And although I think his position is pretty trivially winning, if I'm honest, given White's lack of play, I don't think he's got quite enough of a kind of crushing attack to force the win right now. So we probably will see one more round of boxing.
Really needs to slow it down.
And we're back. And we're back. Oh, hello. So little bit of a summary of the position. David, Northern Powerhouse Jarmany, with an absolutely crushing advantage here. He's threatening to take that queen on e2. So white has to do something. He either has to swap off queens or move his queen away. Unfortunately, swapping off queens, which would seem to reduce the pressure, would actually be a bit of a problem, because after he plays queen takes queen, rook takes queen, the other rook will then move behind, and then that will win the bishop on c2. And given, he's played queen e1, I really, really like this. White has very, very little going for his position. But this is a hybrid sport, so what he can do is be as solid as he can, just survive and take it to another round of boxing and, you know, knock his socks off.
I mean, what a round of boxing that last one was, Matt. And you're completely right here. What Yordan needs to do, number one, is slow it down. So he's already not got that much time on his clock. 3 minutes compared to David's. We have just 3 minutes left in the round. If I'm Yordan, I would be taking a lot of time over each move. Just look to survive this very tricky position. And then I'd love to see another round of boxing like that.
I think we all deserve to see another round of boxing. Yordan with the edge there, David with a commanding lead here. It is exactly that kind of round, that additional, someone is about to win in the chess, but oh God, that's the bell, I've got to survive a round of boxing. That's why we chuffing love this.
2.5 minutes left in the round. Yordan again has just 2.5 minutes. David is keeping the pressure up by responding very quickly, immediately saying, okay, your move again, solve this problem.
Yeah, Yordan doesn't have much of a plan here. He can't really break into black's position, which has very few weaknesses. David, he moved his rook to the e file, which, you know, it's reasonable enough given the fact that white doesn't really have a plan here, and he's now moving his knight into b6 with the aim of activating on d5. But Yordan was threatening the queen, but he's moved the queen, so that threat is now no longer in play.
David is not rushing here. I almost feel like he wants another round of boxing. You could see how much they were enjoying it. He's not necessarily trying to force this position, which is overwhelming. All his pieces, you can see, are cooperating very well. The dark squared bishop there fires towards the middle of the board. The queen dominates the two rooks. Then you contrast them with the white pieces, tucked away on the back rank, not really attacking much.
Oh no, he's lost a piece! He's lost a piece! Queen takes queen, rook takes bishop! Black has won a piece! He swapped off queens! Absolutely massive blunder. Yordan buckled under the pressure. He had basically no moves. He has this horrible bishop entombed on h2. He could barely make a good pawn move, and as so often happens in these positions, he's blundered. He's performed an absolute jaffa, and his job, which was already incredibly difficult, is now nearly impossible. But David doesn't have an immediate win, and with 45 seconds left, I think we're going to get another round of boxing.
I think it's almost certain. And actually, yeah, so he lost some more material, but the queens came off, and that takes a little bit of the sting out of the position. Of course, David's going to win it, but he's going to have to come back to the chessboard again if he can survive the boxing, because there's now only 20 seconds left in this round. Lars's clock is ticking down, but he's going to see it out.
So I think the issue with Yordan's position now is that black has a very good idea, which is to play rook from d8, where the queen used to be, to d3, attacking that knight, and then when the knight moves, you move the same rook one square forward, so that you double the rooks up on the second rank, with the idea of taking the g-pawn, taking the bishop, and I think Yordan's in trouble, but we do get that round of boxing!
Bring on the boxing. Bring on the boxing. I think that actually worked out as well as it could have done for Yordan there. Yeah, he dropped some more material. Yes, technically it was a blunder, but he was in danger of getting squashed, you know. What David could have done there, maybe not the most positional approach, but just said, okay, I'm material up, my pieces are better positioned, I'm just going to roll my pawns forward, Jimmy open your position, and just crush you. But in a way, the proper way of playing was actually the slightly slower way of playing, and it means it's going to be treated to another round of boxing. There's clearly no hope. Would you expect David to win in the next round of chess if he came back to
yes, he will 100% win for two reasons. One, he has a crushing position, and actually I mentioned the move rook d3. Now looking again, rook b2 is a lot stronger because it achieves the same thing but doesn't allow rook b1 in response. So I think David will 100% win, A, because his position's crushing, and B, because actually Yordan only has 30 seconds left, and that he's not going to be able to play a series of good moves in 30 seconds over the course of that round. He'll lose on time or he'll lose on the board, so he needs a knockout in the boxing, and that creates extraordinary pressure.
With a position like that against an opponent like that, it's simply not possible. Again, huge credit to him for stepping in at the last moment. I've loved watching this clash over both the board and in the ring. And Yordan's going to make a huge effort here because I think he's a good enough chess player to know the writing is on the wall. And he's also a keen enough strategist to know what that means he has to do in the boxing. David knows it as well. So here we go, off again. Yordan looking to work his way in, not rushing things, looking for the opportunity. Lands the jab a couple of times, but David looks fairly bouncy on his feet. It hasn't taken too much out of him yet, and he's looking like he might well get through the round if he carries on like this to then deliver checkmate when we come back. Good combination there from David. Yordan took it on the gloves, no damage, but he's giving him something to think about. This is smart. David's not just looking to survive, but to fire back a little bit. And that's, I think, the right thing to do in this scenario, where you know you're going to come under some heat at some point.
Does Yordan, for me, needs to attack more? I know that's a really basic thing to say, but it's so dire in the chess with 2 minutes left. I mean, is he waiting for the right opening to just kind of wait for David to put his guard down and then hit him where it hurts, as it were?
I think the last round took a lot out of both of them. You can see the pace has dropped a little bit. And you have to remember that Yordan hasn't been training for this. So David's had the last 7-8 weeks in training camp, working on the stamina. Often once you get past a couple of rounds in the boxing, you can kind of feel the stamina, like you're depleting the tank a little bit. And I suspect that might be happening to Yordan. He'll know he's getting close to the end of this round. 1.5 minutes to go now. I would expect the adrenaline to start surging. One last assault should be coming along. But David again, still firing back.
And that's a welcome pause. David will be happy with that. Just over 70 seconds to go. Yordan's chances of winning this bout are ever decreasing.
Ebbing away. It's really now or never. He has to find a second win, and he did indeed land a good right there that he followed up. Head cards left. David fires back with a power shot. Yordan landing the uppercut. David is in trouble here. Yordan is really looking to land the knockout.
Oh my
here.
goodness!
He needs to hang on.
Oh, he's
hang on, David.
This is horrendous.
Hang
this
on.
Is horrendous.
40 seconds left in the round. The Northern Powerhouse is still standing. Are we going to...
What
a warning for turning his back, but the two of them tap. Down to 30 seconds. Yordan has to follow that up, but does he have anything in the tank, Matt? Does he have anything, or is he running on fumes?
15 seconds to go, 15 seconds to go. Yordan really needs to land that killer blow.
Has his moment been and gone, or can he find it again? Oh, he's landing again. David wisely hangs on. I think he's going to see it through. What a brave effort from Yordanov there. The algorithmic trader finding his rhythm in the boxing, finding some stamina where there appeared to be none. Stepping into the last minute there, really reaching deep inside himself to mount one last assault on the Northern Powerhouse, who I think is going to earn his chess victory here. He's really been tested in the ring against a very strong opponent. Now let's look at how will he force checkmate here. How is this going to unfold, man? You're a good player. You're about the level of David Jarmany. Talk us into his mindset here. How is he going to finish his man off and avoid one more punishing round
So
of boxing.
I think the critical issue we have here is that David is not only phenomenally ahead on the board, but he's also phenomenally ahead on time. Yordan has 30 seconds left, and I think this is a dignity-saving exercise. It's about going down fighting, playing as quickly as possible, and hoping against hope that David blunders a rook or similar. But even that is probably not enough, because he's a whole rook ahead, and fundamentally 30 seconds isn't much time. So I think this is going to be a procession for Black now.
We are about to see the last rites of this game, but what about it has been, Matt? I would love to see this again. I'd love to see these two go at it, maybe with Yordan with a little bit more time to prepare as well on the boxing, but they've really treated us to some top quality chess boxing this evening, and I think they've been magnanimous toward each other. I think we're going to see them embrace each other as David wins, either by checkmate or, as you kind of hint at, probably by Yordan's time finally running out here. They both take their seats at the border as the last, almost certainly last round is about to start. A good handshake there. You get love to see the sportsmanship.
And we're back. Okay, we're back. Yordan playing white, a late replacement, absolutely heroic effort so far, has 24 seconds left on the clock. He has no time at all, 23 seconds, and with nearly 4 minutes left, it's just a question of does he lose on the board or does he lose on time, which is ticking down inexorably and horribly. 18 seconds left, and he's taken a pawn. Black has taken a pawn. 16 seconds, 15 seconds. Yordan is in a world of pain, a world of play. He's going to play knight takes g2 next, and then move it. 6 seconds, 5 seconds. David knows, he's raising his arm, and I think that's it. I think it's over. And it's a win on time for the Northern Powerhouse, but Yordan, a late replacement, has equipped himself magnificently. What a fight.
And you love to see them embrace each other like this at the end, in mutual respect. Back to Jarmany.
Fighters. But we have a winner on the chess due to time. It's our Northern Powerhouse, David Jarmany. But please also, as the commentators mentioned, give a round of applause to Yordan, who stepped in late to replace the fighter who had to retire. What a valiant, valiant bout of chess boxing. So I'll grab a couple of words of you, sir. That honestly amazing. How do you feel right now?
Well, I feel a bit like my nose has been broken. Yordan's got a very hard uppercut. So what an amazing thing for Yordan to do, stepping in last minute from Lars, who unfortunately couldn't fight tonight. But Yordan is an amazing fighter, a really good friend, and you can see at the end, the guy's an absolute gentleman. And we had a bit of agreement before this fight. Whoever won it, the loser would go to the bar and get 2 pints straight in. So, barman, 2 pints please, mine's a Guinness.
Yes, and we could see you smiling through the pain in that boxing. You both looked like you were having so much fun. How did that feel?
Oh, it was such a pleasure. I mean, this is my second chess boxing fight. The first fight was against Cameron, who was Yordan's cornerman, which was utterly brilliant. I just want to say a big thank you to a few people who actually came out tonight to watch me. There's my 2 nephews who are in the audience. They've all come all the way down from Blackburn. So thank you, James and Luke. And then there's a massive crowd come to see me. They are the Bald Boozers from Mile End.
The Bald Boozers, big shout out to you. That was an outstandingly brilliant bout of chess boxing. I'm sure everyone here in the Dome will agree. We loved every single round of that. It was fantastic. So I'm going to hand us over for some post bout analysis. Step over here. I'm going to hand us over for some post-bout analysis. Back to the commentary team, who were as excited as I was watching that. And there might be a short break for a few sponsor mentions. Thank you.
Matt, a battle for the ages, that one. What an assault that Yordan mounted there in the last boxing round. David survived it and then delivered the coup de grace that his position deserved. Talk us through what unfolded there on the chess.
So Yordan played the London system and he got the desired setup. I think the problem was it seemed to reach a point where Yordan kind of went for the wrong plan. He took on c5 kind of unnecessarily, basically activating the knight on c5. So he took on c5, allowing knight takes c5, hitting the bishop, meaning that the bishop had to drop back, losing time for white. He moved his queen to b1, which I think was a kind of a cute idea, but slightly artificial. And he ended up with his pieces on a slightly funny configuration of squares. And he ended up playing this move b4, leading a huge weakness on c3, so that when Black's knight came into e4, it was threatening to capture that c3 pawn, as well as the bishop on g3. So White would have had to play bishop takes e4, leaving himself with a clearly worse position. As it was, that was better than what Yordan did, which was drop his bishop back to h2, and then after knight takes c3, I think the game was actually more or less over at that point, but it was expedited by the fact that Yordan blundered an exchange by playing rook c1, allowing knight e2 check and winning the rook. And David converted very smoothly, but the boxing, not quite as smooth an affair.
I'll come to the boxing in a minute, but question for you on the chess. Did David have one of those positions that, at the opening, where we say it plays itself? So although he wasn't ahead by a huge amount of material instantly, it was just such a pleasant position, everything working in harmony, that he could just kind of gradually, logically turn the screw without having to do anything too dramatically, and his opponent's position just fell apart.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. After knight takes c3 especially, I don't think David has a very challenging position in so much that he's got really nice activated pieces. That bishop on g7 is always going to be a really, really strong piece once the c3 pawn drops and he can utilise the whole of that long diagonal. I mean, I think losing the exchange was obviously that really, really expedited matters. Had that not happened, had Yordan been able to kind of take a step back, think, okay, how do I solidify my position, not create any more weaknesses, and basically put David in a position where he has to grind out a middle game of pawn up. That would have been the pragmatic step forward, given that there was boxing in play as well. And had we got one more round of boxing, then Yordan might have won. But as it was, those additional blunders kind of ultimately told.
Yep, I mean, really on the boxing, cannot speak highly enough of both men there. So Yordan stepping in at the last minute. But David, against, I mean, Lars Bjorknes, who he was meant to fight, is also a strong boxer, but a different type of challenge there. And really a sustained assault in the second and the third rounds as well. There was a moment when I thought he was going to go down. There was a hail of uppercuts that really was being summoned and rained down on him. And I cannot speak highly enough of David for showing the grit and the chin to withstand an assault like that as well. That was really an impressive performance, Matt.
It was a bout characterised in both boxing and the chess by a lot of grit and chin. Genuinely a classic, and one that I'm delighted to have been a part of. But I think we're going to a 10-minute break now, so go make yourselves a cup of tea if it isn't too late for a small amount of caffeine, and we will see you in 10 minutes.
Give it up for ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready for chessboxing! Round one, chess!
What? If you want to understand the mystery of chessboxing, you gotta go through the history of chessboxing.
Well, the first piece is the pawn.
I got the idea from the comics, from Enki Bilal.
Moi j'avais lancé l'idée, j'avais lancé un peu un concept, mais lui il en a fait quelque chose de réel.
Round two, Boxing.
I like the perversity of the change from the very physical to the totally cerebral.
The number one fighting sport with the number one thinking sport. Tell me about one combination that's more fascinating than chess boxing.
I love working with people that have brilliant ideas, and Ipo is one of those guys that has brilliant ideas.
Vielleicht ist es in 5 Jahren, aber der Weltmeister im Schachboxen is the smartest, toughest man on the planet.
We founded a lot of clubs now. We're going forward to spread chess boxing all over the world.
There's no one who's done more for chess boxing than me.
If we don't come clean in the beginning, we're going to have problems in the future. Big problems. We're going to fight each other.
This is a shot showing the true inventor of chess boxing in London.
He's trying to falsify history, which is not very nice.
I know English, they're tough people, but they have no brain.
Tim is not earning a living.
I have sunk everything into this show.
If chess boxing doesn't get any bigger, then he will persevere until it bankrupts him.
You know something, but all this time people have been saying there's one fight they want to see, and that's London versus Berlin. It's Tim versus Ipo.
He doesn't know what he's dealing with, yeah.
Ich hatte eigentlich ein paar Fragen.
No, this is a disaster.
One more fight to go, Chris Levy. Tell us about it.
Matt, that last one was about for the ages, but now it's time for the headliner. Anthony Bourached, a true eccentric of the chessboxing world. He stars himself as Toto the robot and comes out dressed in a robotic morph suit. Also a very strong chess player, over 2,000 elo.
Yep. He knows how the knights move, that's for sure. And no, Anthony's chess strength will be a key factor here because his opponent, Shayan Zarein Dolab, is a very, very decent chess player, bit of an up-and-comer, but not in the same category as Anthony. At the same time, Shayan has a big advantage in the boxing, right? Last time Anthony boxed, it didn't go according to plan.
He was up against a teak-tough Finn with a bit more boxing experience who landed flush a power right hand on Bourached's chin and knocked him clean out. He had to go to hospital to get checked out. Fortunately, he was all okay. But Anthony will certainly be looking to extend a bit more. Shayan is a fitness freak, a kickboxer as well as a chess boxer. And as you hint at, fast improving on the chess. He doesn't come from the traditional kind of playing as a junior tournament background. But we've seen him a couple of times go up against some very strong players. Matt Reed last time out, and also Roger Cannonball Baxter, a strong, very strong chess player who he really held his own against. So I'm looking forward to see if he's continuing this evolution, Matt.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. He was super, super competent against Roger Cannonball Baxter as well. Had a great position, which unfortunately went awry. But I think, like a lot of new chess players, it's sort of in the pandemic era, he's improved a lot through those non-traditional means, playing online, improving as an adult. And I think this could be a really, really competitive match, particularly given the additional boxing strength that Shayan has, which was an area that Anthony will hopefully have improved. But I think we should go back to, I don't think I'll wait any longer, Chris Levy. I think we should go to Gem in the ring and cue the final fight.
Let's bring it on.
Let's bring it on.
Okie dokie. It's time. It's really time for our last bout of chessboxing. What an amazing thrill ride this evening has been. So far, we've had a win by knockout, a win by checkmate, and a win on time. So we've got it all to look forward to. Are you excited about our last bout of chessboxing? Now this bout sees the return of a fighter who, well, he'll speak for himself actually with his intro. Made infamous a couple of years ago with one of the greatest intro sequences we have ever seen. So first off, this fighter says he was sent back by our future AI overlords. I know, right? It's riveting. This fighter likes to set their target to ease by dancing to Glam Soul. And as I already mentioned, you are in for an absolute treat with this entrance. Now, they stated that their specialism is 101 gigahertz. You can see what kind of fighter we're expecting in the ring. So, let's make some noise. In the white corner, weighing 78 kilograms, standing at 185 centimeters with a chest elo of 2,144. Let's make some noise for the return of Anthony Toto the Robot Bourached. That was, wow, absolutely brilliant. So who is joining Toto the robot in the ring? Let's find out. The next fighter. Now he normally has a bit of an entourage coming on stage with him as well. This next fighter is the self-proclaimed King of Persia. Yeah, he'd like us to all kneel before his Anglo-Iranian glory. Up to you if you do, whatever. But he is a professional landlord by trade. And if he doesn't own you now, he says he still will soon. Now, he says he doesn't enjoy putting your rent up, but he does enjoy the finer things in life it affords him. That's landlords for you, right? His specialty apparently is sovereign power. Well, let's see how good that power is. In the black corner, weighing 76 kilograms, standing at a height of 177 centimeters, with an elo of 1800. Give it up for Shayan, Shah, Zarein, Dolab. If he doesn't put your rent up, he might knock you out. Give a big cheer. Let's give them all our support. Give it up for both fighters, Toto the robot and the Shah. All right, enjoy your bout. And I'm handing over to our commentary team.
Their quality has won a chess boxing bout before, so an important first for one of them today, which is incredibly exciting. As mentioned, Shayan with the edge in the boxing, Anthony with the edge in the chess, but Anthony's boxing remains a little bit of an unknown factor.
We didn't get to see that much of it last time out. Certainly he'll be looking to avoid such a quick end, but really, what a pair of entries. I mean, Eye of the Tiger Classic. Oh, hello. What do we have here? This is taking the nakedness of the Berserker. That's a bit more historical accuracy here. This is quite eye-popping. A man in a morph suit and a man wearing a bear hat, nearly naked. Who would have thought it, Matt Long? Who would have thought it?
Who indeed? We have one bout to go. It's going to be an absolute corker. Don't look away. We are about to kick off. Anthony Bourached, Toto the robot, demasked with the white pieces, Shayan playing black.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how Shayan responds to the challenge of playing yet another strong player here. He takes it just very seriously, and he loves stepping up, testing himself against the more regular players who come from that classical background. I can't wait to see both of them trying to prove themselves on both disciplines here, man.
And if my memory serves, we might get yet another Queen's Gambit. And we're off! Chess, 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 chess. And we have another modern defense, as we did in the second bout. And Shayan is going for the hippopotamus opening, which was mentioned in the notes to the second bout. You can catch the recording if you like. So, bishop to b7, the other bishop is on g7. I suspect black's plan is to move his queen's pawn forward 1 square, his king's pawn forward 1 square, put his knight in front of the king, his other knight in front of the queen, move his rook's pawns forward 1 square, and basically say, what do you got?
It's again a battle of two philosophies. So Anthony Bourached, as we've seen before from several players, occupying the center with the pawns, staking the ground. Shayan trying to control it from the sides with those raking 2 bishops. It's a battle of philosophies. They're jockeying to see whose is going to come on top in this first round.
And who doesn't love a philosophy battle of a Saturday evening? So, interestingly, White has played a4, and I believe the right idea is to play a6 now. Otherwise, a5. Oh, he's played a5. He's played a5, interesting. So White can't play a5 himself. He's just moved his knight into c4. So that a4 pawn is preventing the knight from being kicked by the pawn on b6. Black can play a move like d5, attacking the knight, but it's against the spirit of the opening to play such a committal pawn move too early. The idea is you wait for White to play their committal moves and then you respond. It's a hyper flexible opening, but one that is full of nuance. And is it the kind of opening that you can play effectively when you've just been punched in the face?
I mean, certainly we might have a look at things kind of evolve after this, but this is a very cagey first round. As you mentioned, Black is basically just saying, I'm gonna kind of lie back, see how you're going to develop your pieces. There's not that much contact between the two armies. They're just developing, getting into position. As you say, this sets us up for a maneuvering battle that could go quite deep in terms of rounds, Matt.
Yeah, this is definitely setting ourselves up for having a lot of boxing, which is super exciting. I think Black may have missed a trick by not playing h6 instead of rook e8, based on the fact that that's the move you want to play in this hippopotamus structure. And now with this queen d2 move in front of the rook, he can't play it. And Black has played e5, a committal move. He's played a committal move. And I, for one, am very excited.
Oh, I can barely contain myself here, Matt. This has fixed the structure and made it even more of a philosophical maneuvering battle that I love to see. Those two pawn chains are locked in the center. White's pointing a little bit towards the queen side where he has a little bit more space. Black's pointing towards the king side where he might look to expand by pushing forward that pawn that indeed he just has.
And if anyone here has read the Axel Smith tome, Pump Up Your Rating, I'm sure you have, who hasn't, you will know that pawn breaks are an integral part of playing an effective chess game. So if we kind of look at it from White's perspective, you've got the potential to play b4 at some point, and you've also got the potential to play f4 at some point. What Black may want to try and do is play f5 himself, but that is a risky idea because of the weakness of the e6 square, and it may entail opening up the king side. And if he opens up the king side, there's a risk of checkmate.
Oh, and we haven't seen as much checkmate as we would like to, especially in the last bout, ending on time. And let's have a look at the clock. Cheyenne a little bit behind as the round ends.
High quality first round. You've read my mind, Chris Levy. And that's the bell, and we're gonna see a robot box.
Matt Lunn, I thoroughly enjoyed that round. That was one for the chess purist there. The duel of philosophies, the hippopotamus, pawn breaks, a discussion about the center, a maneuvering game after all the hurly-burly that we've seen. Who doesn't like seeing the cut and thrust of an open game? But this is one that could go deep, and I, for one, am very excited.
I completely agree. There is basically zero chance of it ending next round on the basis that if one side, say, blunders a queen, you carry on because of the boxing element. There is no way that this is going to quickly open up. But as with a lot of these positional games, when it does open up, it will do so in a really, really interesting way, and potentially will end up in a scenario where one side can glean a big advantage. And crucially, as you alluded, Cheyenne is massively down on the clock, and that could become increasingly important.
Especially in a close game like this. But our Berserker is in once again. I am looking forward to seeing how these two match up in the ring. Are we going to see the hurly-burly, or are we going to see the same cerebral approach as we saw over the board?
And now, I guess in the boxing, the main thing for Anthony is how scarred are you from last time? What if you have an upsetting experience in the boxing ring? What impact does that have on your next fight?
It certainly can make you a little bit gun-shy, as we say. So all kudos to him to surmounting those fears and clambering back in after, what was his first fight ended in a knockout. So I think it's a very brave thing, and he's testing himself against a strong opponent here in the boxing in Shayan. But he does have the height advantage if you look at how they match up. So I'll be looking to see if Anthony can establish that jab earlier, as he like to see the taller boxer do, or will Shayan get close to him, as our referee Ronaldo is.
Shayan, of course, also a comparatively late replacement after Matt Crazy Arms Reed became it. Also, all our best wishes to Matt Reed, a real treasure of the chess boxing scene. But will that have an impact on Shayan's approach as well?
I don't think, you can see him from looking at him. He's a fanatical trainer. He loves the sports in general. I would expect him to be bout ready for sure. A crouching style from Anthony and a slightly wild haymaker there. He's looking a little ungainly, but stood up to that right hand well and fired back well, rocking Shayan back on his heels with a counter punch.
What a start! What a start! Shayan trying to end the contest immediately with a flurry of blows, but Anthony acquitting himself quite well so far.
He did land a very strong counter punch there, which hopefully will have dissuaded Shayan, but I think Shayan is looking to close this one early. Anthony would be well advised to keep moving here, to, again, as I say, get on the bike and make sure he's not too static a target as he ships another heavy right hand followed by a combination from Shayan. A minute left in this round now. Anthony, hats off to the guts to get back in the ring, and he's standing up well to the assault so far.
Yeah, Anthony is clear.
Oh, that said, clipped
just
by
as
the
I
right
say
hand.
that is a big
He
blow.
takes the knee. He's going to take an 8 count here from referee Ronaldo, but there are 30 seconds left in the round, so it's now a case of is Shayan going to be following up to finish it early, or will Anthony see it through to get back to the chess?
Yeah, and with 30 seconds left, one imagines that both sides will survive the round, and it's a question of, in such a complicated position, where really someone can come up with the wrong plan. Oh, and just as I say, Shayan is landing that flurry of blows as if he wants to force a Jaffa in the next round.
He absolutely wants to do that, or even end it here on the ring. It's not a subtle approach. He's just windmilling the rights and the left in. But Anthony needs to either tie up or fight back as he sees his way through the round. A brave effort there from Anthony against a strong late replacement. But as you were hinting at, can you force the chess, as he clearly needs to, in a position like this that is made for maneuvering?
Yeah, you've got to feel a strong boxing round is definitely going to benefit Shayan. If I were him, I would play a series of quiet, non-committal moves, ideally moving your pieces rather than the pawns. I really like the idea of getting f5 in if you can. It seems to be the right idea for black. But if there's a way of just gently improving your position so that Anthony, who's had to endure that flurry of activity in the last round, he's the one who has to try and force something, and maybe he'll make a mistake. I guess the problem is Shayan doesn't really have many ways of improving his position apart from something like f5, unless he's going to play, I don't know, king h8, knight g8, but I mean then f5 is harder to get in, so I think probably he does have to play f5, but maybe after that you start maneuvering, start improving the position and see if Anthony tires.
I would just hunker down here, to be honest. I mean, yes, you always want to look for counterplay, but I think there's a chance he could stop it in the next boxing round. And I think if you're Anthony here, maybe it's a bit anti-positional. We were talking about how his pawn structure indicates a queenside attack, but I might be to hell with a positional approach here. I might look to exchange those black bishops, crack open the king side, create some chaos, and try and finish it before another boxing round. Frankly, sometimes in chess boxing, the best plan, from a purist chess perspective, is not the right plan.
No, I couldn't agree more with you, Chris. I think this is going to be a very intriguing contest. We might well have another manoeuvring round in the chess, but there are definitely scenarios where one side plays a committal pawn move and the position breaks open. So really, really intriguing encounter to follow. And given where the boxing is poised, I think this is going to be a classic.
It really is. Tactics are hugely important here, and the counterplay, the symbiosis again between the two disciplines.
And we're back. So black plays queen to g4. Chris and I were talking on the Twitch feed, and we were saying that given the flurry of activity that Anthony, Toto the robot, had to endure playing white, maybe black's strategy here is to play non-committal, improving moves and really kind of set the tone, make it tricky for white to come up with the right plan, given that he's taken a ton of punches to the face.
And Anthony, on the other hand, needs to look to maybe, even though it's a maneuvering type of position, perhaps try and crack things open a bit, force the pace, create a bit of chaos on the board, and see if he can win in that way.
Speaking of, he's played f5, and black is now threatening to play f4. Well, I say threatening, f4 is a move, and a pretty good move, I think. It forces bishop takes c5, which he's done anyway, I don't like that move at all. That knight was well placed on c5, but I think black is the one with a clear plan here. He has the potential of quite a strong kingside attack, which could lead to checkmate. And now he's swapped off. Black has swapped off a bishop for a knight. That knight was threatening to take on c7, and as we saw in the Northern Powerhouse win, that would have been a fork that would have won an exchange. Exciting stuff, exciting, gritty, grotty positional stuff, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, I'm reveling in this, man. I think Shayan's really improved his position here since the start of the round. Those exchanges help him kill a little bit of the play that Anthony was threatening to develop on the queen side. I think I like black here. I don't know about you.
I like black as well. Here. I think that the thing that he wants to do is get his e7 knight into the game, as long as taking on f5 isn't a good option for white. So, okay, he's played f4, classic kind of King's Indian structure. I think black is going to follow up with g5 and g4. White locking up the position on the queen side. I think white, look at that bishop, look at that light squared bishop. It's got nowhere to go. It's basically a giant pawn, and black is throwing his pieces down the board.
So you can see that pawn chain, that little diagonal there that points towards white's king. So Shayan has more space.
Oh, he swapped off queens. The queens are off the board.
I think this endgame could still be quite good for black.
It is. I think keeping the queens on might have been the way forward. That might have been the way forward. I still prefer black here, but there's less of a checkmating threat. White is really locking down the position. That light squared bishop, it is not a happy bishop at all. It can reroute via the d1 to h5 diagonal, which I think he's doing. He's played rook a1, and now we look at this. Is the a5 pawn a weakness, Chris?
So Anthony is, as you say, homing in on maybe the one thing that's not so good about the black position. That pawn at the edge cannot be defended by another pawn.
Bishop d1. I absolutely love bishop d1. That is a delightful move by Toto the robot. No wonder computers are better at this than us.
So what he was doing was uncovering the line there for his other rook to swing forward, across rather. The two rooks are targeting the a-pawn, which is lost.
White's won a pawn! And not only that, he's going to win the a5 pawn next. The situation has completely turned white. White, whose position was really grotty, really locked down. Black had the potential of a really strong kingside attack, but the queens came off. White started manoeuvring. No, he's lost a rook!
And look at the time as well.
They're going to take their headphones off, but that's the bell. What a turn of events, what a change. Oh my giddy aunt.
That was sensational. Just as we were starting to sing the praises of Shayan's play, really unraveling those kingside pawns and levering open, having all the play. He imploded at the end there, Matt. What happened?
Well, it's completely gone. Black was generating a really nice kingside attack. White played this very clever move, knight h2, covering the g4 square and offering the swap of queens. And I think at that point, Black needed to bring his queen back and start pushing the pawns down the board. But actually, once the queens came off, the pressure decreased and the weakness on a5 became the main part of the position. And actually, Black ended up blundering the pawn on h5 as well. And then at the end of the round, he moved his king, and it was a kind of, the wrong plan. He moved his king there, losing the rook on a8. And the game is over now, and it's all about the boxing.
But bishop d1, Matt, you are singing its praises. Tell us more about, often the backwards retreat is the most elegant move, and that was certainly an example.
I think the thing is, you talk about good bishops and bad bishops, and I was saying that White's bishop was really unhappy because it was hemmed in by all the pawns. But what White managed to achieve once the queens came off is to reroute his bishop to a really, really good diagonal because it was attacking that undefended pawn on h5. So he basically got his worst piece and activated it, and now it's one of his best pieces. That bishop is going to come off the board in a second, but that flurry of activity led to Shayan blundering, and rook takes a7 is going to come. Rook takes a8 is going to come next, and I don't see Shayan getting back from this.
And it sets us up perfectly for this boxing round, where Shayan is really going to have to force the pace, even more so than he did in the first round. He has 3 minutes. It's basically KO or bust for Shayan, the Prince of Persia here. And he starts off in much the same vein as the previous round, finish there with a flurrying attack. But he's getting a bit of a ticking off there from referee Ronaldo for the grappling there. And this is eating into the clock already. We've only got 1.5 minutes left on the clock in this boxing round as Shayan throws the leather again, looking to land that big right hand.
And Anthony's come out fairly aggressively, given that he must know he's a very strong chess player. He will know the chess is as good as one, unless he missed the rook hanging on A8. But well, as I say that, he's had to endure a flurry of blows there.
He's certainly taking a lot of punishment. He is firing back, which the referee Ronaldo needs to see to keep the bout going, because if he takes too much punishment, a little rabbit punch to the back of the head there sees Anthony taking a warning. Quite canny. That warning itself eats up some time, as we have less than a minute left on the clock for this round. It's a similar scenario as we saw in the last bout, Matt. It's KO or bust, as I say. Can Shayan pull it out?
Yeah, and with 40 seconds left, he's doing the right thing. He's not like expending all of his energy, right? But he is getting his blows in where he can, in the knowledge that if Anthony falls, it could be over, and really, he might not get another boxing round after this.
I would expect it to be over in the next chess round. As it's the last 20 seconds, Anthony against the ropes, as Shayan gives it everything that he has left to try and force the stoppage that he needs to claim this. And he's down. Anthony is down. But I think he's going to see his way through the rounds. As there is the goal. He has survived. He was down, but not out. And now he has the chance to finish things off on the board, having survived heroically.
Yeah, this is a huge opportunity, a huge opportunity. I'm very, very excited about this. Anthony with a winning position, but as with the David Jarmany game, it comes down to whether he can do it in time or not. The position is close enough that if Shayan plays kind of slowly and carefully, and I don't think, with the clock situation, Shayan is not going to survive 2 rounds of chess, even if he were, in a better position, and he's dead lost. So ultimately, Shayan just needs to make sure that there's another round of boxing, and given the flurry of activity there, he would be with a good chance, I think.
He basically has to do what Anthony did in that last round of boxing, which is somehow survive, and if he can, then he'll thrive in his discipline. The boxing, this is edge of the seat stuff, Matt.
Yeah, it really is. This is the hybrid sport at its best and at its most hybrid. Clear advantage for one side in the boxing got there in the end. Clear advantage for the other side in the chess. So really, it's a race between one discipline and another. Quite often, the chess race is inherently faster, but actually, Anthony was in a bit of a bad way towards the end of that, and there's every chance that he doesn't survive the next round of boxing.
Let's also see if that's impacted his play a little bit, having been down. He is a very high-quality 2,000 ELO plus player. You would expect it not to take his level down too much, but might it make him a bit slower than he would otherwise have been, as our Berserker once again whips up the Boston Dome crowd into a chess-loving frenzy.
Absolutely, it's a wonderful crowd here at the Dome in Tuffnel Park, and if you haven't been before, I highly encourage you to come. And Anthony has won a rook! He's won a rook! We are in a fascinating situation, ladies and gentlemen. White is clearly winning in the chess, and has a massive time advantage, but Black is clearly ahead in the boxing. So basically, Chris Levy, it's a race.
It's an inverse of what we saw in the boxing. Now Shayan has to somehow grit his teeth and survive. And I think the problem is exactly this. Anthony's going to gang up on that C pawn, pick it up, and then pop that B pawn forward until it reaches the end. And when it reaches the end, it becomes a queen, Matt.
It becomes a queen, Chris. So he's played F3. What, G4 check? What a nice idea. So he's played G4. The king now doesn't have a ton of squares. He's not getting checkmated, but Anthony must know if he doesn't win chess in this round, he might go down in the boxing. And they've swapped up rooks. We're in the end game now.
Deep in the end game, and that wasn't perhaps the cleanest way there. I thought he was going to keep the B pawn on and push it forward. Anthony's still clearly winning. But there's 2.5 minutes we're getting to in this round. Can Shayan survive? He's got 2 minutes left on his clock. He needs to think.
Shayan has 2 minutes left on the clock. There's just over 2 minutes left of the round. I think he has every chance of surviving, and survival really is the name of the game. The worst thing that could happen would be for his king to get randomly mated in the middle of the board. And to be honest, there are a few mating nets here. The problem is, oh, knight takes G5, a lovely little tactic there. Because after king takes, rook takes bishop, and white's won a pawn! White's won a pawn.
They are moving at such a pace here. Shayan needs to slow down. One more round of boxing. We're down to 2 minutes left in the round. Shayan still has nearly 2 minutes left on his clock, but he's blitzing out here.
Yeah, Shayan's strategy here, whilst admirable, is not pragmatic at all. It's really not. The more moves he gives Anthony to make, the closer he gets to that trivially winning endgame. Because you see that pawn next to the rook, it's going to go up the board, it's just going to keep going up the board, and it's going to become a queen. And once it becomes a queen, it's going to be checkmate in just a couple of moves. If Shayan keeps playing at this speed, it could be over this round.
It could be over, but he's slowed down a bit now. He's down to almost 1 minute left on his clock and 1.5 minutes in the round. But he's blitzing again, Matt. Why isn't he slowing down?
I don't know. He just loves chess too damn much.
Don't we all? Don't we all? Chess!
Chess!
Chess! Chess!
D6, he's going to make a queen. It's unstoppable. And once he makes a queen, it's going to be checkmate, but we only have a minute left. Shayan, for the love of God, stop moving your pieces.
Run that clock down, Shayan. Stop. There's the queen. There's the queen.
What are you doing? It must be checkmate in 5 or 6 moves, but there's honor in just stopping moving the pieces. Just give yourself another round of boxing.
45 seconds in the round, 30 seconds on the clock. Can Anthony checkmate, or is he going to be forced to enter the ring again?
Anthony can play instantly. His moves are all very straightforward. Just check with the king, queen, and it's going to be mate. He's played king f2. So hang on. Queen f6 is mate. Queen f6 is mate. And Shayan has 50s. Queen f6 is mate.
Checkmate! It's checkmate!
Anthony has won!
What a finish with 15 seconds left in the round. Anthony, that canny king move setting up the checkmate. High class.
Anthony Bourached, who was knocked out in 20 seconds last time, has won his first ever chess boxing bout.
What a game, Matt. I can't wait to hear what he has to say as it's over to Gemma. to interview the victor.
Let's give it up for both these fighters, first of all, before I announce officially. Wow. All right, step to the referee. The winner of, again, another thrill ride of a bout of chess boxing by checkmate, Anthony Toto, the robot Bourached. Let's give it up for both our fighters, for Anthony Bourached and for Shayan Zarein Dolab, who fought like a champion in those boxing bouts. Wow. Really amazing work. Oh, I'm tired. I'm sure everyone at home is tired. Everyone in the audience, that was exhausting to watch. If we could grab a few comments with our winner. Come on, Anthony, let's grab a word. So, first of all, how are you feeling?
A little punched up.
A little punched up. What was that like for you? I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, who missed what the commentary was saying, your last outing at chess boxing was over very quickly. How did it feel to sort of see quite a few rounds through?
It was, yeah, it was much nicer. I suppose, yeah, I mean, Shayan's a really, really great fighter, so I was concerned about that, but I was happy I held.
Yeah, really valiant effort holding your ground in the boxing. You seemed to get more stable as you went on. Did it feel that way in the boxing?
I feel like I did some of the moves well. I think I landed some good hits. I think I moved well, but I think his sort of better boxing technique was coming through, and I'm not sure I would have lasted another boxing round. So it was an extra element of the blitz game, you know, because I played plenty of blitz games where it's like, okay, I have to win this in a very short amount of time. But it's like, okay, if you don't, we're going to punch you for 2 minutes.
Yeah, so that AI training really came in handy there. Give him one more round of applause. Also, awesome entrance. Absolutely loved it. Elton would be proud. Huge round of applause for our final fight winner, Anthony Toto, the robot Bourached. Wowee. Right, well, I'm going to hand back quickly to our commentary team who are going to sum up the event. I'm exhausted with the energy and the excitement of today. How you doing, guys?
Evening being.
I mean, we've had an absolutely spectacular evening of chess boxing. Every fight brought something different. Felix Lee with his absolutely impeccable boxing performance. Dan Mayfield with his checkmate in about 13 moves. David Jarmany with his cool as ice positional grind. And then at the end, the ultimate battle between chess and boxing. Anthony completely down and out in the boxing, but edging his way in the chess, and Shayan, brave, valiant Shayan, just playing and playing and playing, and Anthony seizing his opportunity and mating the king on the F4 square. I think they've all been great, but I think we saved the best till last.
We've seen men in morph suits, we've seen bear hats, but at the end of the day, chess boxing is truly the winner. Matt, I cannot wait till the next time.
I can't wait either. Thank you so much, everyone at the Dome, for joining, everyone who joined in on home. And yeah, I hope you had a lovely time. I know I did, and I'm not a little sweaty. It's back to you, Jem.
Thank you, guys. Well, I just want to say a huge thank you to the audience that are here with me in London, in the Tuffnel Park Dome. You were amazing. Give yourselves a huge round of applause. Also, did you like our Berserker, eh? Yeah, huge round of applause for our Berserker in his first outing tonight. Wonderful underpants at the end there. So, last things to say, thank you to everyone who tuned in on the stream. It's been great having you along this crazy, amazing, exciting ride with us. So for everyone else, for the next time, if you want to watch our social media, please do. We're on all the things. The next date for chess boxing is 9th of April 2022. So put that date in your diaries now. We want to thank the Dome in London's Tuffnel Park for having us tonight. We also want to say follow us, subscribe to our Twitch stream, which is twitch.tv/chessboxingnation. Follow our podcast, the Chessboxing Podcast. That's a pretty easy one to get right. And our Insta is @chessboxingnation. And we also have YouTube, youtube.com/chessboxing. All the things, as I said, we're on all of them. You can get lots of chessboxing if you want to. Lastly, our after party for everyone who's in the audience is at the Aces and Eights, which is across the road. Everyone at home, choose a beverage of your choice and join us virtually, I guess, in your dreams. And I want to thank the production team for tonight, including Core London, as well as Richard Fraser for doing lots of good things for us. Thanks to Alexandra and Andrea Botes for raiding our stream. Yeah! And thank the Dome, Mark Bowles, his team, our sponsor, Windsor Actual Consultants. You, the audience, again, you've been amazing. Have a brilliant evening. And last but not least, one more big cheer to all our chess boxing fighters. Yes. Right. I think that's it. Goodbye from me. See you next time.